We've dealt with worse things than fucking someone chewing on stream. For
Like
example,
what?
that soda opening. Let's
Wait,
see. All right, they're
what have you
seeing
dealt
us.
with on stream? What have you dealt with on stream?
Well, I mean, just like delays and shit.
Oh, oh yeah. You mean the technical difficulties? I got you.
Oh, technical difficulties.
You know, like a week-long technical difficulty because you having a new job and me having an omnipresent job. That's one technical difficulty that stopped us from streaming for a little bit.
Oh yeah, always fun. So yeah, guys, sorry about the streams being fewer and farther in between. Lately, it's because I have a new job and it's eating a lot of my time. I'm working about minimum of 10 hours a day. Um, and yeah, it's a lot of heavy lifting, which I'm not used to. And let me give you. All right, Logan, you're not gonna see this for a minute, but I'm gonna give you guys.
Woo, that's cold.
I'm gonna give you
Frigid.
guys an impression of what my brakes look like. You ready?
Oh,
Okay, that was it.
wait. Okay, I don't have a switch on. Fuck, 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 fuck,
It
fuck.
like pretty much aside from lunch, my only break is to take a 2 or 3 second swig of a drink. And that's it. No sitting ever.
What
It
about kneeling?
only if the national anthem's on. Just hear the national anthem. Oh dear, my shoe's been untied.
Also, can you do that brick thing again? I missed it.
Oh, the brake thing?
No, brick or the size of your bricks. I had a you lift. Oh, you said brick.
No. I was doing an
My
impression.
headphones fucked.
I said I
My
was doing
headphones
an
fucked up.
impression of
My
my
bad.
brakes. Just a quick little swig, like. Okay, back to work.
Sorry, my headphones were fucking up. They were going.
Yeah, pretty much my job. Any time you're not spending lifting things and putting them onto pallets is that much more time you have to stay.
Overtime. Overtime.
Oh, overtime's great. It's just surviving it. But yeah, like Friday night, the number of pieces we had to pick before we could leave was about 12,500.
That's not bad. What
It's
happens
it's a
if you
lot.
get it done early?
Uh, you can. I think you can just leave early. If the work's done, the work's done. Good luck getting done early.
Well, I'm saying like
But
if it happens, like is it just like, oh, good job, here's more shit?
I mean, they could probably find other stuff for you to do. It's probably just like prepping for day shift people. But anyway, we missed you too, Jess. We missed you too. Why does Logan have a
Oh,
pregnant ghost outside of his window? That is a screenshot from PT. It does kind of look like a pregnant ghost, though. Now that I'm thinking about it, she's haunting you with child support payments, Logan.
jokes on her. I'd like to take a page out of Nellie's book. Wasn't me.
Have abortion sometimes, have abortion always. Oh, God. Let's see, did you get my memes? Yeah, but meme of the stream hasn't been a thing for, I think, what, 5 months? Unfortunately.
Yeah. Some things had to go to make way.
Yeah, unfortunately. The job is costing a lot of shit. But anyway, today's topic is what makes a good horror game. And since this one was Logan's idea, I'm going to let him lead the conversation for this one. And I'm just going to take your lead.
Okay, well, hold on. My picture. I'm stuffing my face. It's okay.
10 out of 10 content. Oh, and also, as a side note, the Let's Play videos are coming back because those are a lot easier to get out, especially now that I've hired David as my editor. You should start seeing those next week. So
And there
yeah.
was much rejoicing.
Yay.
Yay. But so yeah, I was just it kind of came as a byproduct of a I'll be honest, this is kind of a lazy episode
That's just freeform
because
discussion.
just because both of us have been working our asses off. On my end of things, why we couldn't do things last week, there's just been a shit ton of mishappenings at work. I don't think that's a word, but I'm quoting it, keeping it, mine. Um, where for whatever fucking reason, I consider this to be the easiest job I've ever had. No one else can seem to do it for an extended period of time, and we've lost so many people recently that I am exclusively the day shift person.
Hmm.
As in, I've been working 7 days a week for the past 3 weeks, probably going to be going on 4 because I doubt we can find a cover person. Not that I care, it's just like things happen so suddenly that it's just I have no time. Everything's conflicted, and unfortunately, 3 days out of the week, one person doesn't show up till 7 o'clock at night, and then just recently it's been call out after call out after call out.
Been there.
We have a guy that, to be fair, he was a drug user, but he's trying to get better. Like, I guess his probation officer came and screened him, said he's been clean, so it's not like he's still doing it.
That's good.
But his body's just not used to working. I mean, he said this is the most work he's done in 3 years.
Damn.
So good on him for trying, though. I've seen a lot worse.
Yeah. But
Like he genuinely seems like he's trying, but it's just like it's been call out after call out, and then finally the last guy went. So now I'm picking up his shift, and then it's 7 days a week now.
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's why last week's show didn't happen, and it was all very last second. So sorry about that.
yeah,
Um,
I apologize. So as I was gonna say, for that reason, this is a lazy episode. I'm
yeah,
just gonna flat out say it.
and streams are gonna be Friday nights. It might be V.A.S.T, it might be more Hollow Knight or something. But Let's Plays will be a continuing thing. I might be doing 1 or 2 series at a time. David's looking to do more editing, so it's probably going to be 2 pretty soon. We're going to start out with Legend of Spyro: A New Beginning.
I want to see that.
Yeah, it's been fun so far.
I never really watched you play through the game, so
It's
I'd like to see that.
it's got some issues, but it's not bad. Like honestly, I think the most like a lot of the hate for it comes because it's not
A Spyro
anything
game.
like a Spyro game, but
I
it's
get that.
not bad.
I get
It's
that.
it's pretty much just Lord of the Rings but dragons. Like it's like fuck, okay.
Wait, sorry. Let me say it again. So like The Hobbit,
If Bilbo were the dragon, yeah.
Bilbo Dragons.
Bilbo dragons.
But
No mercy Animal Crossing playthrough. Just slaughter everyone. The way the animals talk in that game scares me. Just like the really squeaky. Like, ah, God, kill it. You see, that's horror game done right there.
well, so I did say it's a lazy episode, but it's also kind of a topic I wanted to talk about
Fuck
for
yeah.
a while. Just it's lazy because we need a break and we didn't want to set up this big long show of us getting mad at shit. So this is
Thanks,
just
Jess.
a reprieve from everything that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also a topic that I've wanted to talk about for a while. That because you and we play horror constantly. We love it. Even though we are not affected by it at all anymore, we love it. It's just something about it. It's probably different from you to me, but it's just a fun genre that unfortunately a lot of games it kind of seems like recently within the past, I don't know, 10, 12 years or so, it feels like some of them got really fucking lazy. Like
Yeah.
they use jump scares to do their work, or ooh, spooky ambient lighting. So I wanted to talk about objectively and subjectively what makes a horror game good.
Probably mostly subjectively.
Well, I say objectively because and I kind of thought about this when we were talking about Dead Space a little bit. Objectively, the game is scary. Like, it'll scare the shit out of David and many people. And one of the things you dislike, and to an extent me, it does get old, is the constantly being bombarded by enemy after enemy after enemy, room after room.
Yeah,
But in a way, objectively, that is horrifying because you don't get that rest. You're constantly dealing with shit popping out of walls coming at you, and because of what that is, what the necromorphs are, it makes sense because it's the entire fucking crew of the ship infected and coming after you. So, I don't know, a few thousand people. You're not
I
gonna
think
go like in the first Resident Evil game where it was a few enemies here and there. Like, you're going to be bombarded by the entire fucking ship in the colony. So I understand that, and they could have done it better. I understandably like it was the first test game of the series,
mhm.
so they got better with it,
I think when
and
you
they could have done three better, but
I think when you do the bombarding people with enemies in horror games, it definitely creates anxiety, depending on how the combat is and how slanted it is against you.
mhm,
Um
which it's not. Mind you, it is not
no,
slanted
slanted
at all.
against you.
I
Like,
know it's not.
oh wow. In that case it
Well,
sucks,
I mean,
but
it
like
kind of is, but I'm
it
so good at it.
becomes it's definitely like anxiety, but it's not fear, really. It doesn't cross that line into fear. It becomes more like Resident Evil 4 or Silent Hill Homecoming.
Don't
You know
you
what I
dare
Hey,
mean?
say
Mom, on
Resident Evil 4
TV.
is not scary.
Hey,
You
thanks for
know the
those.
regenerators.
Uh,
You know
the,
the
the,
regenerators are in there.
the regenerators were goofy to me, but
Bitch!
um, I like their sound effect. I like the sound effect. Like
I
the
like the
sound effect and
music.
the music, like those
You want to
work
play the
really well
music real
together.
quick?
Like they were set up really well, but the enemy itself, once you see it and what it does and everything, you're just like, oh, okay, I'll just walk over here.
Okay, to be fair, the
Bye.
music was the only thing that got me. But
Um,
think,
but like that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like it is a bad thing if you're trying to be scary, but it doesn't necessarily make the game bad. Like at that point, it's just an action game, and that's fine. I mean, Resident Evil 4 was great. Silent Hill Homecoming, while not the best Silent Hill game, I still had a good time playing it.
Silent Hill still had a bit more going for it, though.
Yeah,
In terms of horror, just because of the fog being omnipresent. So, like, you'd see a shadow out in the distance, and it's some people that, and I'm saying objectively, that's not us, because I danced through Resident Evil 7. It's still the scariest one out of the series. I still went
not
through the
really.
game like, oh, I say it's the scariest, and
Huh.
I'll talk a little bit more about that in a little bit. But I want to stick on the Dead Space subject a little more since it's the one that I kind of wanted to get the ball rolling with
Okay.
because you don't like the game and you definitely don't like when games bombard you with enemies because understandably I kind of don't like it too. It does become a routine. It does become a routine shooting gallery. Like
I will
for me
say that it
it's
has been a very long time since I've seen Dead Space, so I'm going pretty limited on my commentary on it, to be fair. I just wanted to
but
throw that out there just to be 100% fair to the game.
yeah, I mean you never watched me play through it, but you've seen segments.
Yeah, like I would
So
sit there and watch for like 10 to 15 minutes, and I'd just be like, ugh.
but the reason I say for me personally the combat's not slanted to you or against you, they very well could be, is because think of Resident Evil 4, but you can move now, which that was probably what sold me on the game to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Is because you finally get to move around in your environment. Mind you, you're not sprinting while shooting, but it feels natural.
Yeah.
It feels like a response you would have. You're not just going to stand there while these things are going and running at
Yeah,
you.
and for an
You're going to,
action game, that's good.
yeah. And
For a horror
it's,
game, it needs to be slanted against you. It needs to make you not want to engage in combat. Ever.
but, but they could have done it differently. I'll agree with that. they should have done it how they did it in the movies. But in terms of not slanted against me personally, once I discovered the plasma cutter,
Mm.
which unfortunately is the first weapon you pick up in the game and is the literally best weapon in the game, which is a big downfall towards the
Ooh.
game. I like the game. Well, I mean, it's the best. It is the best weapon. Like, there's no
I
doubt
mean,
about
even
that.
Resident Evil 4 wasn't that bad with the beginning weapon being OP. Like with Resident Evil
you had
4, your
you had to
first
get up to
handgun
that.
is honestly really fucking good, but you still have to make it work. It's not an easy win button, you know?
No, it's not an easy win until you finally upgrade it all the way, which takes a long time because
Yeah.
you don't have access to all of those upgrades at the beginning. But once you fully upgrade it, it becomes headshot dead, headshot dead, headshot dead, headshot dead, headshot dead,
Oh,
which is fucking phenomenal.
Tom says good environment is important in horror games. Very true. Very true.
Yes, and Dead Space does that well. I love the ship. I absolutely love the design. You could say it's boring,
Hmm,
and it is because it's an entire, it's all beige, it's all
well,
brown. It's a mining ship. But the
that's
environments themselves are fantastic. I like the look of them.
that's I won't harp on I won't harp on Dead Space's environments from what I remember of them. I won't harp on them too much. I think visually that can get pretty boring, but the environment, like, it makes sense with the game. The way it looks it just makes sense. Like, there are a lot of horror
Yeah.
situations where everything's gonna look bleak and dreary and bland. Like, you know, in a lot of with Silent Hill for the sections that are like obscured with fog and everything, it's like, well, the screen is mostly gray. It's not like, it might be a little bleak and drab, but it's not necessarily working against the horror aspect. Like, the environment still
No.
works for the game. Whereas aesthetically, it might not be the best thing in the world. At least those sections. Obviously, Silent Hill has a lot of aesthetic as fuck sections. I'm just
Yeah.
speaking strictly when you're walking around town and it's all fogged up. Um,
Well, let's take 2 for example.
the depressing one.
The depressing one. But
Yeah.
also, okay, fine, let's not do the depressing one. Let's do number 3.
No, I mean, it still has good horror elements. I'm just saying, like, that one in particular was more depression than
Depressing.
anything.
Yeah. I don't know. Actually, I kind of like 3 more than 2, but that's just because of replayability.
Well, three is
It
considered
felt
like one of
better.
the best ones, if not the best one. So
I would consider it the best one. It
I
was
thought it was
always said
good.
that it was always said that 2 is the best one. I love 2.
Eh,
2's phenomenal. But 3 just felt so much better. I wanted to keep playing through 3. Not that I didn't want to play through 2, but there's just so much about it. Like, you want to go
mm-hmm.
back through and do it again so you can see maybe like what, you missed this one thing. And don't ever play with the puzzles on hard mode. You will never figure them out. I swear to fucking God.
Fucking love the puzzles, man.
There was a puzzle in the beginning of the game.
Was it the
The
books?
It was the books. You had to know outside fucking knowledge that you would never look for.
It's always the books. Anytime I ask someone what's the hardest Silent Hill puzzle, they always go for the books in 3. Yes.
I didn't even get past that one. I said, fuck that. I'm putting this back on normal. I don't
Mm-hmm.
even know if there's harder puzzles. There probably is. But it's just the fact that you put that on hard and then suddenly it's like, hey, you want to know something about history? It's like, what is this?
I know, like, Silent Hill 3's puzzles weren't, aside from maybe that one on the hardest difficulty, they're not terrible. They do take some thinking, but it's not super unfair for the most part.
No, but
Unfortunately, that one, you said it took outside knowledge, so it was kind of like a Dracula 3 situation where it's like, well, I don't know Latin, so I can't
yeah.
do this.
Which that unfortunately to me takes away from the game because no one's gonna
Mm-hmm.
go out of their fucking way to look up the internet and go do this shit and then
But yeah.
play it. Because remember, during Silent Hill 3 times, it wasn't as accessible.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's when the internet was starting to get out. So, you gotta have a book around, and if you're a poor person, you're not gonna have that book. But
Right. Those
aside
books
from
were
that,
nice.
like actual horror,
But
it's hard to say because it's not scary to me. But I can understand why it would be to somebody else.
what, Silent Hill 3?
Yeah.
Um, I guess I'd kind of agree with that. I'd say it's not one of the scarier ones. It did have some moments in it that were horrifying, like the bathroom scene. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
You'd go into
yeah.
the bathroom, you'd look in the
And then
mirror,
the
and there's
walls.
blood, like blood is starting to cover her, and then it starts like covering the walls in the room you're actually in, and it slowly suffocates you. It's like, holy shit, that was
That
really cool.
that moments like that are what
And you couldn't
start to make a
leave.
horror game good. When you get moments of genuine unsettlement. Like I think that's what I think that's what makes a horror game good is when not when you're like constantly scared or running for your life because when adrenaline takes over, eventually the fear goes away. Like
Yeah.
you don't want to blow that immediately. Which
And
unfortunately Dead Space kind of does because once you get used to it, I was going to cut back to this at some point, but with the plasma cutter,
mhm.
once you get used to it, once all you do is keep it in the alt fire, which the plasma cutter fires vertically or horizontally.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like the only weapon I really like. I didn't really care for the weapons that much, just because one, they're not tools, two, they're kind of ugly. But the plasma cutter fires vertically or horizontally. Once you figure out that the horizontal section or the horizontal fire mode is the best fucking thing in the game, all you do is before you upgrade the weapon is fire twice at one leg, and they're slow enough, they're gonna get hit. But you fire twice at one leg for a standard necromorph, and then once in the arm, it's dead. So that's 3 shots per enemy.
Mhm.
And on the normal setting, I always, before the first section is even over, max out my item slots. Just because I've wasted no ammo. So I already have like 50 bullets and full on health packs. And it's just boom, 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 done. Boom, boom,
Yeah,
boom,
and
done.
that's and to
And
contrast it with Silent Hill again, like if you're gonna have combat in your horror game, it I would say that it needs to be heavily slanted against you. Like the way Silent Hill does it is the characters in most of the games aren't combat
physically
savvy at
fit.
all, and they're really incompetent with the makeshift weapons they find. So they're
The only
really
one
slow, they're really ineffective, and if you fight anything more than one or two, you're fucked.
Oh yeah, you're gonna take damage. And honestly, the
And
only
that's
person
good.
that was physically fit to that degree was Alan. I think that was his name from
Alex.
Silent Hill. Alex from
I
Silent
think
Hill
it's
Homecoming, and
yeah,
that's just
like
because he had military training to some degree.
yeah, that
Um,
made sense. That was
yeah,
fine.
because
But like I said, that one was definitely like
combat
the
center.
least scary of them. And it was a more combat heavy game. It was kind of like the Resident Evil 4 of the Silent Hill games. Granted, not nearly as successful or well done, but you know what I mean.
I
Um,
still liked it a lot, to be
oh
honest.
no, I'm not dissing it. Like I did like Homecoming a lot. I'm just saying it didn't quite hit the same note that RE4 did for Resident
No,
Evil.
and I do not think it's still worth like $60.
No,
It's still $60 on Steam.
no game is worth $60 in my opinion.
Spider-Man is.
No,
Spider-Man's worth 60 fucking bucks. Play
video
it.
games are
Do
worth
it.
$40 max. I mean, I'm still probably gonna get Spider Man. Don't get me wrong, but
I'd agree with 40. I'd agree with the $40 though, just because we're so technologically advanced now. We can pop out games like babies, so uh, they shouldn't be worth that much. But going back into Silent Hill versus Dead Space, the thing about Dead Space that does suck about the combat is you're an engineer.
mhm.
Mind you, actually, Isaac, the main character, was trained by the Merchant Marines. Like he did that before, so it's not like he's not accustomed to combat. But it's just once you know what you're doing. I mean, if you're not, if you haven't played a game like that, it's going to be rough the first time. You probably are going to be scared. But like me, if you've played any horror game before that, you're fine.
Yeah,
You
it's
know to conserve ammo. You know to go for vital spots, which Dead Space should have done it like they did in the movies because they tried to do the whole you can't shoot them in the head, which is cool, and if you don't dismember them, they're going to keep coming after you,
mhm.
which I really like that. If they did it like they did in the movies, it would have been fantastic. But it's like if they did it in the movies, you shoot off their legs, they keep crawling at you, which they do, and if you shoot off their head, they just swing wildly in your general direction. kind of terrifying if you're trying to fight off more enemies.
Hmm.
And if you cut off their arms, they just run at you and bite you. But and then you find some without their arms and legs, and they're still crawling at you. They needed to keep doing that. The problem is in Dead Space is you can overload their amount of health. Enemies like that shouldn't have health. That you should have to dismember all of them
Yeah,
because
kind of
unfortunately,
the Black Knight, pretty much.
pretty much, except a lot more terrifying because there are numbers.
I'll
But
bite your legs off.
the issue with the game becomes with the plasma cutter. Once you upgrade the damage fully, becomes a 2-shot weapon.
Yeah.
Ammo's not scarce. Every time you pick up ammo, it's 6 bullets, and it's not uncommon. Enemies drop ammo and money, and you can find ammo fucking everywhere. And if you only have the plasma cutter, it drops that amount of, or it just constantly drops that amount of ammo, like because you only have one weapon, so it's only dropping ammo for your one gun. It's like Resident Evil 4, where it's like if you have a shotgun, shotgun ammo is more common. Um, but it becomes definitely more combat centered when it's just boom, 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 and you're done. Um, so that part takes away from the horror a lot. It's not a scary game subjectively, and even objectively, there are still flaws. Like the environments are good. The fact that you are being attacked constantly does give you that anxiety of being overrun by all the enemies in the room. But what keeps it from being a scary game, and you know what? I want to retract the comment of making it a good horror game. What makes it a scary horror game is what I want this topic to be about. Um,
Well,
which
I
is
mean
why
that's
Dead
that's the
Space.
difference. Like, a horror game could be a good game, but not a good horror game because it's not scary. I think
Right,
that's
like
the barometer.
yeah, like
Like,
Dead Space to me is a good game. It does a lot of things right. Replayability is immense.
hmm
Um, despite the fact that you don't have many unlockables, you have one, and it's a suit that gives you 30% damage reduction, which is nice.
yeah, like I
Um,
like
you
I think like the main different like I think the perfect example of that would be again Resident Evil 4. Resident Evil 4 is an amazing
is a
game.
perfect game.
It
It
sucks
is
as a
a
horror game.
it's a perfect game.
It just sucks in terms of anything horror. Like,
It does.
the regenerators are scary for like maybe a second until you realize what they are, and then it's just like, oh, whatever.
Yeah.
Um,
You can even kill them just by unloading into them. It just takes a fuck ton of damage.
oh yeah, and whatever. But okay, so Jess brought up, she said I like Slendermans.
Oh yeah, Slender
Do
Man
you
is
want
a
to
good
maybe?
example of scary.
Do you think it'd be fun if we just went through a couple like popular like modern-ish horror games, like the online
Oh yeah.
ones?
Yeah.
Your Slendermans, your Fivnits at Frunkies, your other such things. We could just talk about what we think works and doesn't.
Well, yeah, like I meant for this to be a really in-depth segment, just based on our personal beliefs and what you can consider scary objectively. Like the whole thing I was saying with being overrun by enemies is the fight or flight instinct would be maxed out at that point.
Mm-hmm.
So, like on paper, and possibly to some people, that's horrifying. Not to mention that they are grotesque creatures. Like it's people basically turned inside out and their bones converted into knives, or like they're missing their legs, so it's converted into a tail with a scythe. Like that's horrifying. If if I wasn't immune to the fact, that'd be scary as shit
Yeah.
to see this thing sprinting down the hall faster than a human can run and just leaping at you with scythe arms. That's horrifying. But subjectively, it doesn't bother us at all. It's actually kind of fun. As Slender Man, though, as far as that goes, that is my favorite horror creature thing. I don't know what the fuck it is.
Have you seen the new? Oh, well, I guess you wouldn't have time, but the new
Oh,
movie actually wasn't bad.
is it out already? Holy
Yeah,
shit!
it's been out for a little bit. Might even be like out of theaters now. It's it wasn't bad.
No, and neither was Marble Hornets or the other movie either.
Yeah, yeah. Like the Slenderman movies actually aren't terrible, but
I like that.
which is weird. It's like
It's the one that's not
decent
good.
horror movie, you don't think Slenderman. It's just like, it was actually okay. Not anything to write home about, but it's yeah, they had some
Like,
cool stuff in there. With Slender Man, I think, uh, in talking the original game, I think
okay, game
I don't
101.
think it's a very like a lot of people bitch about it for being just jump scares, but it's not really like the jump scare is the punishment for failing. The real horror of it is when you're going through, you can't see him or you see him way off in the distance. It's really just the apprehension and the idea that you have to keep your light off if you want it to take longer for him to find you. But in that
Well,
time, you can't, like, if your light's off, you can't fucking see him. You can't see where you're going. And unless you have a map, like I did, a dirty cheater that I am, um, like, it's scary because you don't know where you're going. You don't know where he is. You can't see shit because you don't want him to see shit. And that's good. It builds like Jess just said there. It's psychological. In a way, well, she wrote physiological, but it's psychological. It's really
Second.
it's the anxiety that it builds, and it's more of a horror based anxiety. It's and I like that. The jump scare itself is pretty cheap. I will say
The
that.
jump scare is cheap, but I
Yeah,
mean, like,
but that's
for
not the main drive of the horror. That's just the punishment.
no, and also just like for an indie game that was made as a collectathon,
Oh yeah.
it, like what they can't do much. It's a free game you play online. Like, what are you expecting? It's not SCP where it's been constantly updated.
Um.
Even then, it still doesn't have the true developer's touch of good. But actually, I'm going to talk about SCP at some point. But what makes it good, what I like about Slenderman, is also what makes me scared of ghosts. Not that they exist, but the concept of them is horrifying to me. Like, actually, legitimately scary. The fact that you can't fight it, no
Mhm.
matter what you do. Like, there is no force on Earth you could possess that'll defeat Slenderman. Like, once he's after you, he
You're fucked.
just give him a hug. Just give him a hug and make it quick.
Yeah,
Um,
honestly, at that point, like I don't know the Slenderman thing. It's like you see these people trying to survive and shit. It's like, you know, there's no known way of killing this thing. You can't really get away from it. Just like off yourself or let him kill you or whatever. Just do it at that point. You're like half eaten by a shark and still trying to fight back at that point. Just make it easier for yourself.
just dive on in.
Just stop. Dive on in. Um
But what I liked about Slenderman though is not only is he just, he's coming after you and there's nothing you can do, but the fact that he doesn't walk. Um, in Slender the Arrival, he hovers at you, but it's the fact
mm,
that he just he is everywhere. He could be in front of you, you turn around, he's behind you, but closer.
yeah. And that's what I
Like,
liked about the first one too, is that you don't see him move, and I think that's a lot more powerful than
oh,
either floating around or walking or just like no, you don't see him move, you just turn and he's there. I like
no,
that a
no, no,
lot
no.
more.
He doesn't just hover. He does the teleport. But it's the fact that it's he actually moves to you if he's close enough to you. It's not like he's gonna go around the entire map going ooh. Like, if you look at him, look away, look back, he's gone. Then you turn behind you, he's there again, but now he's just floating to you.
But I like
He does that.
I just like the idea that you never see him move in any way. You just see him and he's standing somewhere. That builds. I think that builds a lot more of the anxiety because there's that idea in the back of your mind of this guy was moving really close to me and I didn't see it until he stopped.
Right.
Like he's so effortlessly evading my line of sight that there's no way I can predict where he's going to be. I'm fucked. Whereas if you see him moving around, you're like, oh, well, I know what I'm looking for. You know what I mean? Like, it kind of takes away from that a little bit. That and most Slender games, let's be honest, anytime they have him move, it looks really goofy.
Well, that's why they just
It,
have him float in the other one because
eh,
it's not like a T pose float, but It although to be fair, I didn't care enough to look at them enough. That game is creepy. That game does ambience and level design really well. But the whole thing about Slenderman though is it's not only the fact that he was moving really close to me, it's the fact that he moved instantaneously from 100 feet away.
Hmm.
Meaning there's nothing I can do to run. It's like imagine what Jason does, except it's instantaneous
And less boring.
and less boring. I like Jason. I
I
like his design and what he does, but then the movies are boring. Um,
Incredibly boring.
but yeah, it's just the fact that he can do whatever the fuck he wants, and he just fucks with you the entire time, and no one knows what happens after you go. Like, does he take you somewhere? Does he kill you? Does he make you fight your friends? Is it suddenly Super Smash Bros. With Slenderman?
Hmm.
But that maybe not game design, but as a concept, that's really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of borrowing
That's really
from like the cosmological horror and the a little bit of the eldritch horror, where it's just like this is something beyond your understanding. You have no way of understanding this or how to deal with it. It's just you desperately trying to get your way out, and you can't. It's just that it's just you over a period of time coming to accept the fact that you're fucked.
oh great, we're in Silent Hill 2 again.
Kind of, kind of. Uh, well, Silent Hill is never so much in the cosmological horror and or the cosmic horror uh, end of things. Theirs are a lot more about like personal demons and psychology and shit. More just like the enemy within kind of deal.
Yeah.
Like spoilers for a game that's been out for what decades now. In Silent Hill
Oh
2,
yeah.
it's all about James being just riddled with crippling guilt for killing his wife who was sick. And as I recall, there's a lot of inner debate where it was, well, was I doing it as an act of kindness because she wasn't well and she was suffering, or was it because I'm actually selfish and I wanted her gone so I could live my life and I didn't have to take care of her anymore? And you see manifestations of his guilt, like his repressed sexuality were like the weird leg mannequins and the nurses and shit.
Legs.
And then the
Hey, yo,
guilt for anyone he killed came up as pyramid heads. Like that's his inner want to be punished for what he's done. Like it's cool shit.
and then Pyramid Head comes back in every Silent Hill game after that. Hey, this was cool. Let's just slap it on anything else to make it better.
Oh, I wish they didn't. I wish they didn't do that. That don't turn Pyramid Head into the Mickey Mouse of Silent Hill, please.
Okay, I'm looking up Mickey Mouse or
I'm
I
just
can look up.
imagining a conga line of fucking pyramid heads just marching to the Mickey Mouse March. And then they slowly turn into dollar bills.
Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching.
It's like you cheapened it. You fucking cheapened it.
But as a design, though, I love Pyramid Head.
Oh yeah, he's an awesome horror icon for sure. I just don't like how he was commodified later. It's like no, just keep
Yeah.
him in that one story. That's the only story he's supposed to be in. Just keep him in two.
Yeah. Like, honestly, Pyramid Head did have his fair share of scary moments. Like the first time you see him
Hmm.
behind the bars.
Oh
Like
yeah.
every enemy you've encountered up to that point either has come out of cars, which that scared the shit out of me. Um,
Oh yeah, when they're like hiding under the car and they like pop out.
which I made fun of later. I think you were there for the one time I was just like, "Hey, watch this," and it's just crawling around. But
Hey, sup, Sarah?
those. Oh hey, but yeah, like most enemies, you see them either off in the distance and they walk up to you, or they're fucking dogs, or like you encounter them in some way, like you're in the room with them and then they come at you. Pyramid Head, the first time you meet him, is behind bars, which signifies you probably don't want to be here right now.
Yeah, they did a good job of building him up as something you really don't want to fuck with in game. I
And
mean,
what
there's
I
that first
liked,
appearance where it's really scary, and then there's the second appearance where he's taking an enemy that you fought before and had difficulty with and literally rapes it.
I like that.
It's just
But
like, shit.
but
Like if he had just killed it, it would have been one thing, but no, he
he
literally
just
bends it over a table and fucks it. Like, oh, that's horrifying. I'm gonna stay in this closet for a while, and I'm never
and
going to
forget
leave.
and forget to turn my flashlight off.
Oops.
But it's okay. I got
If
it
you're
done.
witnessing that, that might slip your mind.
But yeah, and what I liked about Pyramid Head is it wasn't just build up to a little bit of a letdown. Like, you don't want to fuck with Pyramid Head.
Yeah,
There's only one section in the game where you can fight him, and you
two.
don't kill him. Was there two? Oh yeah, the
There's two
Spirit Head. You
sections.
don't. You
There's the
still don't kill them.
well, yeah, you never really kill him per se. In the first battle, it's you fight him. I think you end up wounding him, and he just kind of walks off. Or what, did the siren go off and he walked off? I can't remember. Anyway, he walked off, and like the stairs became available to you. The second fight was against two pyramid heads. One representing the guilt of killing his wife, and the other representing the guilt of killing the fat guy in the bowling alley, whose name I can't remember. And it's pretty much it's literally just battling your inner demons. Once you stand up and fight them for a while, they end up offing themselves by like shoving their own heads onto pikes, which is really fucking cool. And it's a really cool symbolic moment. I really like it.
Yeah,
And I
but
like how even after
um,
that, after conquering your inner demons and shit, it it doesn't take that thing where it's like, oh, everything's better. It's like, no, it still sucks. Like the tone doesn't change.
actually, it gets darker.
Yeah, then you get to the final boss, which was weird. You're fighting your wife's evil hospital bed, which was huh.
Uh,
That was a weird direction. I'm not gonna lie.
it
Probably should have ended with the pyramid heads, in my opinion, but that's
the
just
brave little
me.
toaster. The brave little toaster saw some weird times after number 3.
Okay, so King of Bows just chimed in. In the first fight against Pyramid Head, you fight him, the siren goes off, and Pyramid Head goes, "Lol, that's my cue," and fucks off. Okay,
Okay, yeah. So you don't kill them ever.
yeah.
You fire bullet after bullet after bullet into them. They don't die.
Hmm.
I mean, to be fair, if you shot him anywhere but the big fucking pyramid on his head, he might.
Yeah.
What he just walked off after the siren. Yeah. So
Yeah.
2 people said that. Where's the close ad function? There it is. Now I can see the chat better.
Um. Okay.
Pyramid Head is
So
the only thing enough to kill Pyramid Head.
yeah. And Sarah pointed out like nothing in Silent Hill 2 really scared her. It's more depressing than anything. Yeah, that's pretty much what Silent Hill 2 is. It is a really depressing game, and that's the main drive of it. A lot of people find it scary. I find a lot of really good horror elements in it. I don't find it particularly scary. Silent Hill 4, that was the one that actually scared me.
Silent Hill 4 really did a good job on horror.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Silent Hill 4 is the scary one. Like the other games have horror aspects, grotesque enemies, dark, dingy environments, or the one unsettling thing from Silent Hill 3, praise be.
Oh, yeah.
Technically 2, because even though the red light was bullshit, that segment kind of scared me. Just because I don't like dying in video games, and it wasn't the fact that I'm just like, oh god, I don't want to do it. It's more like, I don't want to touch that. I don't want to see what that is. It's coming after me. Holy stop!
Okay, so Sarah says, I don't know why the fourth one is scary. Well, things that Silent Hill has always done very well are sound design, environments, and really grotesque enemies that you feel almost like you're hitting them with a pool noodle, no matter what you're using, and you're completely inept at the
Can
pool
that be
noodle.
an unlockable?
I wish. I mean, we got the sexy beam, so why not? Um,
Sexy beam.
but I will say, um, I will say that the acting in Silent Hill 4 is the worst out of all of them. So if you're going in for like interesting characters, you're not going to find it ever,
Yeah.
except for maybe Walter. There's some, yeah, you can find a little bit in there. Um, but what made Silent Hill 4 really scary for me was they really amped up their sound design and their music, and just the visuals were really creepy. Like there's the two-headed, there's the twin baby monster thing that's like in a black cloak and shit. And there are moments where it doesn't just run at you. Like it's not even an idle animation. Like if you're in the room and you're within eyesight, you look down the hall and it's just like it walks on two giant arms, and one of the arms is up and it's just pointing at you and they're just whispering. And if you listen really closely, they're calling you the receiver. Because you're in the 21 Sacraments thing, you're the 21st, who is known as the receiver of divine knowledge or something. They're pretty much marking you as fucked when they're doing that. Which is scary as fuck. But when it comes to the horror elements, seeing, I think the best thing they did, and this was the part that really fucking scared me, was, in the main apartment room, which is like your safe house. Over time, it receiver of wisdom. That's what it was. Over time, it becomes less and less safe. It's the only place you can save and rest and shit. Anytime you leave the other world, you wake up in your bed, but it slowly becomes more and more taken over by evil spirits. Like even like right on top of and around your bed, there are spirits, and the longer you stay near them, you get like disorienting sounds in your ears, and you get these horrible visuals of the spirits themselves on the walls or whatever they're on, and it damages you very quickly. Like it fucks you over. So the second you get out of the overworld, you immediately have to be moving. Um,
And that
and
was
then you start getting
horrifying.
things crawling out of your walls, like full human beings crawling out of the walls and trying to take swipes at you and shit. And all of these things make these horrible sounds that all overlap each other. And you get stuff like your TV static blaring, you get the radio blaring, you get all of this stuff. And eventually, the worst part, the main reprieve you get is saving your game. It surrounds the little notebook you save your game in. So even trying to save can fuck you over. So there's no feeling, like that feeling of safety that you get from the main area is slowly taken away from you. And you can use like holy candles to like get rid of a particular spirit, but they just come back. Like after a little while, they just come back. And it's terrifying. At least it was when I first played it. The first couple times I played it, that shit kept me up at night. It was scary as fuck.
Like I said, ghosts are the ultimate horror. You can't
And
kill them.
if you use them really well, yeah, they can be really good. Um,
You can't kill them, and they'll fuck you over. And honestly, I love the house. Like the whole thing. If nobody's familiar with it, which by now, if you like horror, you should be. You get locked into your apartment because reasons. It's a horror game. Don't leave your house. I forgot what the whole reason was. Like, it was due to the sacrifice thing, right?
yeah, it was. God, I remember it being fairly convoluted.
I know it's convoluted,
It,
but
it's part of Walter Sullivan's 21 Sacraments, where he's killing these 21 people as sacrifices for his weird religious cult thing. Um, and the apartment you live in, I think was his at one point, and you yourself are to be the 21st person he sacrifices and kills. Um, so it's one of those things where you're marked as fucked. Um, but yeah, it's pretty fucked up. It's a good game. his ritual technically works because the god is seen at the last boss battle. Um, kind of. That thing is supposed to be his mother, I believe, or at least a deity that he calls his mother. I can't remember. It's been a really long time. I'm pretty Let's see. No, he sacrifices people to bring his mother, the apartment, to life. Yeah, that's what it was. All right. But yeah, and there's creepy visuals that hint at that throughout the game. Like you see these giant worms and shit going in and out of walls, and they're like pulsing, and you don't figure out till later, like, oh, oh, you there?
Oh, there it goes. What the fuck?
Okay, but yeah, you see these weird worm things coming in and out of walls, and they're throbbing, and they're all over the place. You'll just see them every once in a while, and it's not until near the end of the game where you realize, oh, that's an umbilical cord. That's what that is. Ew.
Ew.
Fucking gross. And also a nice bit of foreshadowing.
I'm glad you didn't say anything about foreskinning.
Ugh. Let's see. Henry can't leave his house because he is the 21st to die in the 21 sacraments. The villain wants to go to the apartment because he thinks the apartment is his mother. His real parents left him as a baby because reasons in that apartment. I haven't played the game in years, and I recall some of this shit. Yeah,
the last time I played the game I was 16, so that's 10 years ago.
It was a really long time for me too. I think it was around the same. But yeah, I just remember really liking it. It was more the horror. Like I didn't give a shit about the story. I gave more a shit about the horror aspects of it. That's what really tied me into the game because the characters and the story I couldn't get into it. To be honest, especially when 90% of the dialogue is, "What the hell? Damn!
What the hell?
What the hell?"
Ethan?
I put a little too much energy into that rendition. I'm sorry, but I just can't quite hit that level of I don't care. Where's my paycheck?
Oh, did you talk about stalking your girlfriend?
Say what?
Well, my headphones were fucking up. Did you talk about stalking your girlfriend?
Oh, you mean Eileen?
Yeah, come
Where
on.
you look at her through the hole in the wall and shit?
Yeah.
Oh God, do you remember the worst part about that?
I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Rabbit.
The fucking rabbit, Robbie the rabbit, dude. It's just a doll in there that's looking the other way, and the whole game you're like, that thing's gonna fucking turn around. That thing's gonna fucking turn around. Later in the game, you check, sure as fuck, there he is, looking at you.
And it's not like the worst part was, it's not that he turned around, it's that his eye's up against the hole that you're looking through.
Oh, that did happen once, didn't it? I was talking about where he's like on the bed and just looking at you.
Oh yeah, he does that, but then the next time you go to do that, he's at the hole. So, yeah, and the whole thing, she's also a part of the sacrifices.
Yeah, she's number 20.
Yeah, she doesn't know what's going on. I don't even think she knows the rabbit's there. But yeah, the rabbit was freaky as shit.
Mm-hmm.
But the ghosts, what I liked about them is you can kill them. It's difficult. You can't kill all of them. Sometimes it's impossible, or they'll just damage you too much. But the ghosts pop out of fucking nowhere with no warning.
Yeah, the ghosts you can't kill. What you can do is you can wear a pendant to kind of like wear them off, or fend them off a little bit. Or once you start getting these swords, you can just pin them to the ground. But you only get very few of those, and you can take them back, but then the ghost comes right back up.
Yeah, I never used them. I just stunned the guy and ran, but it's I mean, I like that though. The fact that you can't kill them, you just temporarily knock them out, and then they get back up.
Yeah.
Or you can permanently stick them there at the cost of maybe you need this later.
Yeah, and
that's what survival horror is about.
Yeah, and as a note for something that Silent Hill does extremely well in terms of sound design, A lot of the enemies, they either make like these weird moaning sounds, which are just kind of like vaguely disturbing, and then there's enemies like, do you remember? I can't remember the name of it. It was in Silent Hill 3, the flying things that kind of like the pendulums, big flying
Oh,
pendulum bee
yeah,
things.
that screamy sound they make. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a combination of like the sound of like hornets and scraping metal and shit and TV static. Like these weird, they do a really good job at combining all of these horrible sounds. Just like, they're not even necessarily scary sounds. It's just an instinctual make that sound stop. And they overload you with it to the point where you can't become comfortable at all doing anything. So it like keeps you off balance. So anything else horror related that they're doing is that much more effective. I really like that. As much as I fucking hate those pendulums.
Yeah, I hate the fucking pendulums.
Ugh.
But talking about
Fuck
going
'em.
back to the Boo Boos, I can't remember what the fucking name. Um,
Oh, the twins?
yeah, the Boo Boos.
We always called them boo-boos.
They
Hey,
they
boo-boo, coming to
also
fuck up your picnic basket?
they also made it sound that you neglected to mention that when they point at you, they slowly raise their one arm up because they're standing on two arms. So now it's just doing a one-legged thing. It's kind of
Oh, the
funny if you think
moan?
about it. Yeah. Where if they see
Mm.
you, it's just and then it just starts running at you.
Yeah, like as I recall, some of them moan and some of them whisper receiver. Um,
Receiver.
it's just so unsettling. And Silent Hill is
Most
so fucking good at that. Um,
most of the ones I run into, they did a loud moan, and I was not okay with it.
can we talk about the one bad sound design in that game though?
Which one
When
was
it
it?
comes to enemies,
Does it
May-
say what the hell every time you
maybe
hit it?
some enemies you might find a group of them on top of some stairs.
You mean the bugs?
No. Do you remember the zombie-looking dudes that burp when you knock them down? And if you do it at the top of the stairs, they fall on each individual stair on the way down and burp for everyone.
They go for a while. So yeah, I forgot what those things even look like, but anytime you hit them, it's literally so when you knock them down the stairs, there's one section where you fight two of them at the top of a really, really long staircase. And I figured out that if you charge it up, knock them down, it's just all
Hang on.
the way down. Oh my god.
It's just like, what
It
the
just
fuck
does
is
that all the way.
this?
I want to pull up that recording. I know it still exists.
Oh,
But
it's
it's
on
just
Facebook somewhere. But
it's so fucking funny.
oh my god, Jeff, those were patience. Those are the best parts of the game. Well, I might agree that they're the best part of the game, but for probably a very different reason. They're
that
fucking funny.
I think you need some sort of comedy to break the
Oh my
tension.
god, so fun.
It's fucking great.
Okay, so let's talk about a bad example. Let's talk about Five Nights at Freddy's.
It's a good example and a bad example because the first game. I don't know. Do you want to talk about it, or do you want me to talk
All
about it
right, I want to
first?
preference all of the shit talk we're about to do on these games, with the fact that although it's not scary, the amount of detail and graphic like polish that's put on these games, like the visual polish that's put on these games, in such a short amount of time from one dude is fucking astounding. Um,
So
I
props to him.
props all the way, dude. Oh god, that one was stuck in there.
Oh,
Um,
sorry.
oh sorry, I must have hit a patient. Sorry about that. But horror wise, uh, it the here are the two moments in Five Nights at Freddy's that are scary. Up until your first death in the first game, and the first time you see Foxy run on the camera.
Yeah, I figured that was gonna be it.
Then
If you did,
throughout the rest of the games, it is no longer scary.
yeah,
Because it's the same thing over and over and over and over. This is what people gave Slenderman shit for. It's literally just jump scares. Like you can get some value in like what Markiplier did, where he kept like upping the difficulty. It's like, oh, I got to figure out the exact sequence of shit to do to beat this, and I can see some value in that. But as far as horror goes, after your first
no,
death, it's not scary anymore. It's just aggravating and just like resource management, really aggravating, tedious resource management. With
and yeah, I mean it can be said for every horror game though. Like after your first
uh,
death,
that's kind of the thing. Like with horror games, they don't in terms of like, oh, like, oh, are you going to die a lot? Typically, they're not difficult in those terms. They're difficult in other terms. You know what I mean? Like with Silent Hill, it's a lot of difficulty with puzzles. It's a lot of difficulty with navigating without, navigating and trying to avoid enemies as best you can, because the combat sucks for good reason. Um, you know what I mean? Like it's difficult in other ways.
yeah,
When it comes to like, oh, you died, oh, you died, oh, you died, that's when you've made a bad horror game.
yeah.
Um, because it stops being scary really quickly. Like
The
you
whole
can still make a good action game with what you have, possibly, or a decent puzzle game.
Resident Evil did both.
Um, but yeah, you can't have a horror game because all the tension is gone. Um, but yeah, and it's a shame too because animatronics are fucking terrifying.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Chuck E. Cheese animatronics. Oh hell no.
dude, any animatronic, you can't find one that's not terrifying. Those things are scary as shit.
I would like to show you a mechanical sex doll, and you tell
Ugh.
me if that's scary.
Oh god.
The price might be.
um.
They're actually, fun fact, derailing for just a second, they're
uh,
getting really good at those now because they're starting to look better, and it's kind of scary.
yeah,
Like they're starting to look almost realistic.
that's a different realm of horror right there. Um.
Hey, I wouldn't mind I Thought.
I wrote thought. Man, that's either a robot horror or a fucking Avatar porn parody.
Por qué no las dos?
I wrote thought. Um. Let's see. For Five Nights at Freddy's, I think the idea of Chuck E. Cheese animatronics trying to fucking kill you is horrifying. I agree. But after a
Yes.
while, it gets boring, like DDLC. DDLC was boring from the second the game booted up.
I had a different experience because I was not the one playing it, and Cry is a fantastic person who made the game incredibly enjoyable. Aside,
Yeah, an
aside from
outside
that,
source has to make the game interesting for the
yeah,
game to be any
aside,
good. The game itself is shit.
it had the same problem as the Sakura Spirit game, where it's just like it's just dialogue. There's no game. To
And
call it a game is an
I
insult
I
to
don't.
anything that you can control
My
because it's literally
problem
just dialogue choice.
my problem isn't necessarily that it's all dialogue. I'm cool with that. At that point, it's just a visual novel, and I'm like, all right, I'm down for reading one of those or acting out one of those. That's fun. Um, the problem is that none of the characters are likable. None of the characters are interesting. And it takes forever to get to anything. Not even just anything scary, anything at all to get done. And it's oh god, it's so irritating. It
That is
just
horror done well.
drags. And then when you get to the horror stuff, like when I finally started seeing the horror stuff, I'm just like, I don't even care now. I'm glad all these bitches are dying. I hope they all commit Sudoku. You know what I mean? I don't care. Like, oh, she already hung herself. I'm like, good. That's less dialogue I have to deal with. Thank God. Now, the only
Good.
interesting part in that game is that conversation you have with Monica at the end. But
That was
again,
trippy.
at that point, I was so bored I didn't care. Which sucks because that was cool. That was a very oh god, what's the name of that movie? Um
What's it about?
oh god. Okay, it was the movie where the guy comes in to do the test on the robot to see if he can tell whether it's a robot or not. Um fuck, what was it? It was pretty recent. Pretty
Oh,
recent.
recent. Recent in like how many years?
Within like 2 or 3.
Ooh. It's a Disney movie?
No, it's not a Disney movie. It's like a it's not quite a horror movie. It's like artificial? Is that it? Hang on. Let me look this up because this is gonna bother me.
You sure it's not a Disney
Robot
movie?
movie. It's not a Disney movie.
You said animatronic and scary.
Let's see. Robot movie. 20 was it 17? 2016. Ex Machina. That's it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it kind of had that vibe to it. I like the idea of that a lot, but unfortunately, wah, wah. Too bored at that point, so you lost me. Um, it just awful. There's nothing redeeming about that game aside from when the characters finally off themselves. Um,
Yeah, like that's an example of horror done wrong. Like you definitely want build up to horror. Like honestly, the build up in Resident Evil 7 was pretty decent. Like you knew what was going to happen the second you press start, but it built up to it nicely.
oh,
It didn't.
can we finally move on to Resident Evil 7? Just
No, because I want to
oh
talk about Resident Evil 1.
oh.
Fine, 7 first.
Yay! We were having this conversation before, and I wanted to keep it going.
I wanted I wanted to keep it going, but I also wanted to talk about the stuff I wanted to talk about first, like how things can be seen as objectively horror, like scary, and what does affect people based on what it has, like whether this thing's grotesque and it runs at you and it screams and it makes a horrifying sound, which can scare you because it triggers your fight or flight response, which is fear. Um and what makes a horror game scary when you have two examples of you know Silent Hill and Slender Man versus Five Nights at Freddy's and Doki Doki, where yeah you have certain things that make horror like it makes it tense for a little bit, but then it's just like, okay, I'm done.
Something that
Or
both Resident Evil and Silent Hill brought to horror games that was really good was they got creative with camera angles.
the original one, yeah.
Like they got really creative with camera angles. Um, First off, it makes it more cinematic, which is just nice on the eyes.
Hmm.
And secondly, limits it limits your vision in a creative way, and it kind of puts you like it kind of puts you on your toes a little bit, just like
My God, toes.
it like just that sudden change in angle and everything. It's a little off putting. Not a
I
lot
sort
that it's distracting, but just enough that it adds a
you're
little tension, and I like that.
you're probably thinking of the same exact thing I am right now, and you know what? I do want to talk about this really quickly as an example.
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 1. You know exactly what I'm going to talk about.
Tank
You
controls.
go No, that doesn't make it scary. That makes it irritating. I'm so
Yeah.
glad they got rid of that. But no, Resident Evil 1. First time I played the game, first time I rented it, me and Jeff played it together, or Jeff and I, sorry, grammar Nazi. We went I went through a set of double doors and the camera angle turned faced you directly and it was fairly close. Um and because of this,
You
you
sure it
can't
wasn't
see.
zero?
No, this was 1.
Hmm.
0 you never saw me play. But hey, you saw like one section of it. It wasn't very extensive, but one you did watch a little bit of, and this is where I put the fucking controller down because you walk through a set of double doors. You can't see in front of you. The camera's basically on you, like it's looking up at you, and all you hear is
Yeah, it's just
Like that's all you hear, and you
right.
don't know where it is. You don't want to walk forward. You don't want to do anything. It's like you can't see at all in front of you, and you don't know where it is. You don't know if you walk forward if you're going to trigger something, and it's legitimately scary.
It's letting your imagination fuck you.
Yeah,
You're
that's
just,
all it is.
yeah.
Because once you do take a couple steps forward, the camera angle switches, and then you find out that it's behind a corner. So it's a little more bearable at that point. But until you move forward, mind you, at this stage in the game, your ammo supply is very limited, or if you're Jill, like very limited because you only start with a fucking knife. Oh wait, no, that's Chris. Yeah, so if you're Chris, it's very limited, and these things take a lot of bullets as is, and you're not prepared to fight them. So to hear one right fucking there is scary.
Mm-hmm.
Not to mention the zombies. The zombies on their own were pretty well designed. It's grotesque and deteriorating flesh to the point where you can see their muscles and bones, and they're just fucking rotten, and they're stronger than you because, I guess they're mad. I don't know. It's a tyrant virus. I guess it makes you angry. Um, but yeah, so rotting flesh walking towards you, making horrible squishing sounds, and just you can't fight it. You probably don't have the ammo for it, and it's RNG whether or not you're going to get a headshot. So it's better off to not fight these things. And if you can't tell where one is and it's about to jump on you, you probably don't want that to happen. So yay!
Oh, and King of Bows brings up plus in Resident Evil. Let's not forget that Hunter's first scene, the introduction cutscene.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Thought you'd like that. Also, hey
yeah.
Chris, how's it going, man?
The hunter. Honestly, it wasn't really a scary enemy after that first point, but it's the fact that you don't know what the fuck that is. Because up until that point, you fought dogs, you fought zombies, you fought birds. Fuck birds. And you fought plenty of other things. They don't move that fast. The hunter fucking sprints down the hall, turns left, immediately, like, the door is probably about, if I'm remembering correctly, like 30, 40 feet away. The thing gets there in a second and a half.
Right.
So it's just like, toot, 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 turn, toot, toot, boom, butts down the door. And then you're just like, I'm not ready to fight you.
So you're telling me that the first time you see him, it's kind of like Hank at the end of Swing Bobby Swing at it.
Yeah,
just
imagine that,
just
but a hunter.
doom 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 boom. Oh man.
But
Hey, we got a new person in the chat. Mirage Leonardo 84. What makes a good horror game in my book? Atmosphere, music, and storytelling. Very important elements.
storytelling, honestly, isn't that important.
It can add a
Honestly.
lot
It
though.
can add. It can add a lot more because certain things end up tying into each other, which, if done right, can be really, really impactful. But it's ambience, very, ambience, atmosphere, very, very important. If you don't have any sort of build up or any sort of unsettling environment, like if you're just, I don't know, fuck, if you're walking through a Walmart, you're not gonna be scared.
Well,
But
not
another.
in the way of a horror game, but
Oh no, Resident Evil 5 is the least scary out of all of them.
the Resident Evil 5 isn't
Resident
a
Evil
horror in
5 is
my book.
definitely.
0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. I would disagree with you on 4. But I
I
would agree with 0 through 3.
have not played Fatal Frame for 3. I have played 1 and 2. 1 was scarier. And I was told and very disappointed that 2 is so much better. I loved 1 more,
I'm just
which
saying,
broke my heart.
as I've discussed with Logan many times on the topic of Fatal Frame, if the special
It,
camera if taking a picture, a single picture will fuck the ghost, all right, with that camera, you
oh boy.
modify it into one of those like crank video cameras, then you're killing then that's like 24 to 30 frames a second if it's a shitty one. So that's 24 to 30 ghosts a second while you're cranking. You got yourself a Gatling gun for ghosts.
Oh
I'm
my
just
god.
saying, with a little bit of ingenuity on the main character's part, that ghost problem is gone.
Pause, man. Play Resident Evil.
Never played Resident Evil? Really?
I recommend it. Play the remake, mind you. Actually, I'm gonna chill out for a little bit. The remake is like $8 on Steam right now. If you haven't played it, play it. Like all the Resident Evil games are on sale. I just bought 0, 4, and 1 for $20. So
Nice.
if you haven't played these games, play them.
But
Now,
but maybe we should talk about what we were talking about right before the stream with Resident Evil 7. What works and what doesn't. Starting with what works, because
can I say one last thing about Resident Evil 1? And it's like one of the most important things about the game that makes it so fucking scary.
Okay.
The answer is yes. Anyway, so okay, so you know about the zombies. They're after a little bit they become a little bit less threatening
Mm-hmm.
because you get better weapons, you get more ammo, so you can walk through the halls.
Me
And
too.
actually, really, really cool thing about this game, you can get through the entire game without firing a single fucking shot at a zombie.
Oh, all
I
right. So it's
I've
optional. That's
I've beaten the game in an hour and 15 minutes with the enemies being completely invisible because that's an option that you have. It's hard mode and the enemies are invisible. So
why.
oh, and they become visible again when they attack you. Just for
Why? Like
just for
no, no,
free
no.
fun.
Just story wise, how does that work?
It's
you know.
invisible enemy mode. I have a screenshot in on my Facebook account of invisible enemy on the main screen, and it is exactly as it sounds. Every single enemy, bosses included, are invisible.
That's that's just goofy.
I beat it in an hour and 15 minutes
Oh
with
God.
invisible enemies. But that is not the point. That is just me swinging my dick. Um,
Swing away.
whoosh. But no, the scariest thing about the game is if you do decide to engage the zombies and you kill them, they take probably about 6 to 8 bullets. I can't remember. So decent amount of ammunition if you're using a handgun. But they fall over and they lay down. Hey, you killed an enemy. Cool, you're done. If you come back to the same area again, which you do, that's what Resident Evil's good about. You come back to the same area, you find new tricks and stuff. You try out keys that you got from this one place. You come back to certain places, the zombie stands back up and it's mutated. It
Yep.
is now completely red. Its name is a Crimson Head. It has claws now and it fucking runs at you.
I
It
hate getting
doesn't make a
Crimson Head.
sound. It doesn't make a sound, by the way. This is what horror games don't do. Is they aren't completely like they aren't accompanied by anything. They just fucking stand up and run at you. And it's not like a creepy "Woo, I'm coming back up." It's like they fucking stand up and then they just start sprinting at you. Like you have no time to react to it.
And you know what? I didn't think about it until you were explaining that. But what kind of works? What kind of makes that work more? They don't get an intro cutscene, do they?
No, they don't. They
No.
stand the fuck back up
Like
and
for
then they
for
run
a
at you.
bunch of the enemies, like they all get intro cutscenes.
No, actually
The
no.
original zombie does. I know the hunters do. The lickers do, don't they?
That's I have not played Resident Evil 2 and 3. I do not know. The
Oh, they were
Lickers were
2 and
first
3.
introduced in 2.
Okay.
But
But
no, the only enemies that get it are, I believe, the hunter. The fuck, even bosses don't. But the hunter gets it, and the first zombie gets it. And
okay.
then after that, like the first time you see dogs, they crash through the windows, scares the shit out of you.
There
Or
was there was
the
a cutscene
zombie's first
hinting at the
cutscene.
dogs right before that, though. They didn't show the dogs.
No,
I could have sworn there was
the
like.
the first cutscene with the dogs is the beginning cutscene where you're being chased by dogs in the
Okay.
mansion.
Well,
That's it.
with this one, it's kind of interesting because it's like it's something without a precedent that's just thrown at you. It's just there.
Yeah. And what makes it work is there's nothing until later on in the game, like way later on in the game, in a file that you can optionally read that tells you why this works. So there's nothing in the game that tells you about this,
Oh
and
yeah,
you have to go back to these areas. And if you don't get a headshot, which decapitates the enemy, you don't use one of Chris's flash grenades on them because he sticks it in the mouth and then you can shoot it or it explodes.
yeah.
Um, yeah, if you don't or if you don't burn the enemies, that's an option. And there's very limited kerosene. Like think of the cross or the pendant, whatever from Silent Hill 4.
Yeah, the
You can
sword.
burn the bodies, And if you don't know exactly which ones, you can go through burning everybody in the game and end up fucking yourself because Crimson Heads can come back in packs. Um, so yeah, if you don't do any of that, the zombie will come back in about 30 minutes and you'll have to deal with it. Which, also, fun fact, you can just run right by that. If you time it right, you can just completely outright dodge them, and you are faster than them. So you just run from them. It's kind of funny. But it's the fact that there's no like what horror games do, like think Slender Man when he's behind you, gives that shrieking string sound, whatever. I don't know what to call that. Crescendo, that's it.
Oh
Like
yeah,
you get
like
that,
the
like, oh, he's right there. It doesn't do that. There's no build up. There's like the music of the area doesn't change at all. And that's really, really powerful. Because, in certain areas, it's like a slow rise, like a woo, woo, and then the music builds up and then it gets really, really loud and crescendo-y, which is also kind of what I don't like about Dead Space, because that's all it fucking is. Um, it doesn't do any of that. And that really works.
Mirage
And
Leonardo says, "I want more horror games that don't have zombies in it. I just want the zombie fad to fully die off."
I like zombies, but I do agree there's too much of it.
I think what 40, 50 years is long enough for the fad to die. I think that's enough. And same with anything having to do with World War II in media. Can we just
Oh,
stop?
yeah, please go away. It's
Just
done. It's
stop.
over. It's almost 100 years old. Please go away now. God, that's horrible to think about. World War II is almost 100 years ago.
Let's see, what was that? Like late 30s? Oh wow, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, it started and then something happened in 1945. But
I can't imagine what.
it don't beats me.
It's kind of like
Um,
9/11. I feel like I was supposed to remember something, but it's just escapes me.
some I okay, look, I love zombies. I can agree with that. Like, I absolutely adore the Resident Evil series, and zombies were one of my favorite enemies just because there's a mass mob of them that you can fight. And if you're good about it, you can survive. If you can't fight it, you're fucked.
Right.
And what I liked about them is if it's they bite you, they scratch you, like just a little bit of scratch, you're dead. Game over. So that keeps you on your toes. It's more potent than what the necromorph does because if it touches you, you die. Um,
So,
but sorry, what?
oh, I was just gonna say, I was just gonna say, are you ready to talk about Resident Evil 7?
I am segueing into that as we speak. Yes.
Yes.
I
Yes.
just wanted to talk about the Crimson Head because in Resident Evil 4 1, that is the scariest part of the game
Mm-hmm.
because they are omnipresent. They are going to happen. Like it just wait, hold on, what? Zombies are like the red herb from Resident Evil. You have to. Oh yeah, yeah, I do agree. You have to use zombies in the right context, or it's just fucking stupid. Example: Dead Island. Zombies everywhere. It's fucking stupid.
Dead Island. Wow, what a
It's, it's
travesty.
fucking it's fucking stupid. We'll talk about that actually
That game gives
after
me a
Resident
migraine.
Evil 7 because we really want to talk about this now. I'm honestly surprised you want to talk about it so much. That makes me happy.
I had to hold my tongue for so long because you took so long to get to Resident Evil 7.
Do you know what money is? I don't have it.
Money is not an object when it comes to the new Resident Evil game. But okay.
Tom, you get out of here.
So Resident Evil, God damn it, Tom. Resident Evil 7. Um, this was one where it came out, and I watched people play it, and I'm like, wow, I actually like this. I'm not a huge Resident Evil fan, but this is like good. This is really good.
And that's where I got giddy and really pissed off that I couldn't buy the game because for you to say Resident Evil's good made my jaw drop to the fucking floor.
Yeah, because I've always been more of a Silent Hill person. Like Resident Evil, I've never had any like I never hated Resident Evil for any reason. It just wasn't my preference. It never really grabbed me. Um, but when 7 came out, it was cool. It was like it was first. It was pretty much the first game, but in first person, and just like what they did with the crazy family you're stuck with, and all of that, and all these tight areas, and they're constantly wandering the house, and just all the puzzle solving you have to do while being hunted. It was really interesting. I was like, wow, this is really good horror, actually.
And to
And then the
add on
second
to
half
that,
happened.
the second half happened. Anyhow, so
We'll get to
the
that.
cool thing about that is, unlike Resident Evils 1 through 4, and I guess 5 and stuff, I'm not counting them, they're not games. But unlike the original series, when you go through a door in the first game, it has the same you opening
Whoa,
the door. And, oops,
Han,
sorry.
you're
Yeah,
beeping
I
out.
heard that. Yeah, I heard the static. But unlike in the first game where you open up the door and there's an animation and the next room loads, there is none of that in Resident Evil 7. It's all loaded, all one big house, and if you're being chased, he's following you through the fucking house.
Mm-hmm.
And the first time I encountered Jack, probably should have said spoilers. Anyone who hasn't played Resident Evil 7, spoilers. I'm talking about this game.
It's old enough now. They haven't seen it. That's on them.
I'm talking about this game. Well, to be fair, I didn't see it because I wanted to play it myself without knowing anything about it.
Mm.
So, it's not. Well, it's also on sale right now. So buy it. Just leave and buy it. Play it. Do it. But it's just the first time I encountered Jack, I wasn't aware that none of it was scripted. So when he finds you and chases you, you are going to die if you're not smart.
Mm-hmm.
Which I love that. I love needing to be smart in a horror game. I am far, far too tired of games dumbing things down just so it encompasses a wider audience. I am so tired of having my hand held through a horror event like, oh god, she sees me. I gotta go over here. Oh, I better throw this bottle. Oh man, I better not waste my ammo here. I might need it later. Like,
This
no.
was just like
If
fucking figure it out.
it, if I fuck up, I want to be punished for that fuck up. I did not fuck up. I was scared as shit. Like, the fact that you have to figure out while this man is chasing you in real time
Mm-hmm.
that you have to hide behind things, and it's very forgiving with that, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
Which, yeah, it's very forgiving with hiding behind stuff because like you could be behind a dresser or like that one nightstand and still see him, and if this was a real thing, he would see you.
Oh, yeah.
He does not, and it's probably because it's a little shady. Because if you hide in the darker corners, he doesn't see you. But the fact that you don't know that at first, that doesn't help. Um, the first time I encountered him, and it was a really, really good way of encountering him after you get out of the chair and you turn the corner, you start walking down the hall, and he just walks up to the window.
Howdy, neighbor.
I, yeah, the first time I saw that, I just backed up, turned around, and went, nope, 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 nope. And I went into the living room with the stereo system, and I just kind of sat there and listened to him walk around like, oh, this is real.
Mm-hmm.
And then I played the whole Doors game with him, walked, grabbed the key, went to walk back, and then I guess I bumped something because the fucker crashed through the wall.
Oh,
No, sorry.
yeah.
Sorry, I said that wrong. He walked through the wall. He walked through the wall and created a giant fucking hole.
Major damage.
That's horrifying. Oh god, and then you have to somehow finagle your way around him, get into a hatch, which takes forever to open, mind you. and then get down below into the underhouse portion, and you're just listening to him walk around above you, hoping to God he doesn't reach down and grab you.
Gonna reach out and grab you.
And then it's just, and then the boss fight with him too is pretty bad.
Oh,
Like,
the dueling chainsaws?
no, before that.
Oh.
The first time you encounter him in the garage when you
Oh,
have
yeah.
a dinky little pistol to fight this wall smashing man with.
You start hitting him with the car and shit.
I fucked that one up at the first time because
Most people do.
unfortunately, I'll talk about this a little bit more. Maybe just interacting with items in the game is a little funky.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you have to kind of be pointing directly where you need to in order to interact with something. And when you're trying to do things quickly, it doesn't work.
Like if you're looking at the door, like if you're looking at the car door, you can't click on the car door. You have to click like
No,
on the handle. That kind of specific.
not that specific. You do have to be looking at the door, but you have to be looking like in the general vicinity of the of where you insert the keys,
Ah.
and it happens like that. Like if you don't see that prompt, or if you see the prompt pop up and you don't press it, you're fucked. Like honestly, you have to get in the car and spam use. Otherwise, he rips the hood off and gets in the car with you.
In a way, that kind of works because it's like fumbling with your keys.
Yeah, I just think it happens a little too quick. But aside from that little tidbit, the boss fight itself is whoo. Because if you don't realize to get into the car, which I did immediately, I saw a
Boom.
car and I'm like, I'm driving that shit.
You won't be there a while.
Because bullets don't do jack shit to Jack. He is jack shit. So when you're fighting this guy and you don't find the keys immediately, he gonna hurt you. And when you get in the car, you get a fun little mini game of just running him the fuck over, and it's hilarious. But what they do well at this part is if you're not shit at driving and you ram him into the wall, it's just back and forth, ram, ram, ram. Eventually, you can't see him past the hood of the car, even if you back up all the way. He just pops up onto the hood and rips it off.
It's
Like
fucking ridiculous.
he just jumps up, rips the roof off, and gets into the car with you. But you don't see him do it. You could be looking right at where he went down, and it's just, howdy, neighbor. And then, yeah, that one action sequence happens that you can't do anything about, and you almost get your head rammed in by a steel beam.
I thought,
I thought I fucked that up the first time.
yeah, like every member of the family has some pretty cool parts. I liked, like Jack's section is obviously really fucking cool.
Jax was the best.
I liked the
I hated
sons.
Oh, I was gonna say I hated Margaret.
Oh, Margaret, the bug lady.
Bugs.
She shoots bugs out her vagina.
As I said to my girlfriend as we were playing together, and I forced her to endure the horror with me because it's so cute to listen to her scream. She could probably add a little bit more onto this because subjectively, she hates horror.
Perfect.
She's scared of fucking everything, so she could probably add a little bit more to that. But as I said to her while I was going through that, it's like it's not an enemy, it's a nuisance. It's literally bugs. If they were going for a southern theme, they nailed it. Because that's what fucking Florida is like. You open a door and a fucking swarm of gnats comes at you.
Would it? Would it? Oh, I don't know if I can say this.
If it's about where I live, go right ahead.
No. You're close though. Anyway, but yeah, I thought her section was pretty cool. I like the puzzles around her section, the light puzzles. That was kind of clever. I'm not sure how that works, but
they're in Jack's section too.
Yeah, but
yeah, I don't know how it works.
There was her section, then the Sons section, where you're playing the fucking Saw games with him.
How many times did whoever you were watching fuck that up?
I can't remember. I can't for the life of me remember who the fuck I watched play this game. I really can't. I don't remember them fucking up too much in that section though.
You know, it took me. I was ashamed to admit that it. I was really fucking tired when doing this. I already knew, like, after I
Excuses.
watched the video, like, what you had to do, and even the oven thing didn't get me. Like after I heard the clicking, I'm like, oh, it's gonna fucking explode, like instantly. And it didn't take me long to figure out the walking under the sprinklers to wash off the lens thing. That didn't take long at all. I like almost immediately. But I fucked up and didn't even think about it when I took out the turny thing off the barrel.
Oh.
And I'm just like, what the fuck did I do wrong? I opened up the board and oh, mind you, I didn't sleep that day. So the gears were not turning. But
Open the barrel. Liquid comes
I was
out.
very ashamed of that one because I did so well up into that point. I knew, like, I just instantly like turned on the oven, burned the thing, got the turn handle, and then went back and did that, and I completely ignored that,
Oh.
and then I was just like, what did I do? Oh, fucking god! But after that, like, I enjoyed that. That was one of my favorite parts of the series, just because, or part of the game, just because, like,
That guy's
that's what
fun.
Resident Evil is in its essence. You you have this big puzzle in front of you, and then you have all these little parts that go together. So like you do this one thing that allows you to do this thing, that allows you to go grab this, then you go back and do this, but it's in such an enclosed space that that is the entire essence of Resident Evil.
Mm-hmm.
Just in such a condensed space, and you get to see the magic of how it works.
And that was my first thought when I first saw Resident Evil 7, or at least the first half. It's just I was just like, this feels very much like the first game in a really good way. I liked it. It was good.
Yeah.
I will say that with the section with the sun, they perfectly captured rednecks.
Oh yeah.
Or at least a different like each of them's a different aspect of rednecks or hillbillies, all right? The sun is my favorite aspect of rednecks, where it's like they somehow engineer things in a weird way that works. Like when you think redneck, you think like, dumb yokel, but it's like this guy like jerry rigged all of this cool shit together out of like the crappiest parts. And it's really cool.
Oh, and I'd like to add this in. I did find a note where it said they contracted someone to install that light puzzle.
Oh yeah?
And I'm just like, why would you have this line? Who did you contract?
At no point did that guy go, it's a little weird. Oh, have a good night, Tom.
See it. But yeah, so just like I want to talk about a little bit about the main house and how you have Jack chasing you. And like you're trying to figure this stuff out while he's doing it. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Because after that boss fight, when he really starts chasing you around the house, like, because the first bit's just a little bit of an introduction. I'd honestly call that a tutorial without being a tutorial. That's what it should be. Um, like after that, after the first boss fight, quote unquote, it's kind of like a mini boss fight. Um, he comes back, and you find out that the fact that he blew his own head off and is now almost fully regenerated and walking after you like nothing happened, that's when shit gets scary. This man survived being impaled by a steel beam, blown up by a car, and his brain blown out. And he's still walking around after you.
I just love him.
And that's the scariest part about it, because then at that point you realize that there's no point in even shooting back.
Right.
There's no point in shooting back. All you can do is run and hide. And he's fucking everywhere.
Uh,
And that was really good. And unfortunately,
yeah, here we go.
the second part of the house. fantastic atmosphere, shitty enemies.
So you go from this really good horror game that captures the essence of what everyone loved about Resident Evil 1 and what made it such an iconic game in the horror genre. From the horror to the puzzles to the exploration, very organic tutorial, like you mentioned. Everything, like the flow, feels very organic. It's not very sectional, you know what I mean?
Mm.
And everything kind of ties in together. Then we go into the second part of the game where you fight
basement.
the monsters of Ivan Ooze from the Power Rangers. You fight generic Power Ranger goop monsters. And that's fucking stupid and lame. It went from what everyone loves about Resident Evil to what kind of ruined Resident Evil all in one game, which sucks.
Like, I kind of did like parts of the design of the enemies somewhat. Like, I like the introduction where the first time you see one, it pops out of the wall without any warning.
Mm-hmm.
And at first I thought it was Jack because, fucker just got his head blown off and God knows what else he can do. So I thought he was coming out of the wall. So I ran all the way the fuck away from this thing. But then I come back and find out it's this fucking goop monster, which I actually didn't encounter the same one twice. But when I went down to the basement and this thing comes around the corner, that was legitimately creepy. Because again, like they did well with the Crimson Heads, who I brought up the first place, there was no audio cue. It just walks around the corner.
Mm-hmm.
You don't hear it breathing. You don't hear it moving. There's no because the fucking thing's made out of mold. Like there's no any audio cue at all. It just walks around the corner, and that's it.
And at that point of the game, when you start fighting the goop monsters, I I think the only thing that was helping me hold on at that point, because at that point the game drags hard. Like it feels like a slog. Um the only thing that kept me interested was the story surrounding the little girl. Um and that was it, which leads up to the big twist at the end, which I thought was kind of a funny twist actually. Like
I
not
was
not
so mad.
not funny in the oh this is stupid kind of way, but funny in the kind of wow really that bitch.
I was so mad, and I will talk about that in a minute.
Wait, like legitimately mad at the game for doing that?
No, I was mad that I didn't realize it.
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say because there's actually a pretty decent twist. Like
No,
obvious, like it's
that was a fantastic twist because then it gives you all those flashbacks of oh you were here, 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 and here.
Mm-hmm. It's so obvious when you look back. You're like, oh, who's the one character we haven't interacted with at all?
Well, the thing about her is something's up with her.
Yeah, it's just
Like there's nothing like there's a bigger part of her, but you don't think it's that. You think she's gonna come back as like this super big ass fucking hulking monster, but then it's just like, oh, I didn't even put two and two together.
right. Um, it's,
But
see, I didn't even mind the molded. I minded the molded. I minded them a lot because
I'm sorry.
I minded
I
them a
minded the
lot
molded.
because they brought the game down. They weren't good enough for that game. They'd be good enough for a crappy indie horror game or indie action game or something where like the team wasn't very creative, but the game that they're in up to that point was really creative. Seemed to really know what they were doing in every aspect. But then that
Yeah.
came up and it was just like what's with this generic Power Rangers ass enemy? Like why is this here? This might be
And
okay for low budget shit, but this amazing game you had right before this thing came out of the wall, it doesn't fit here.
Yeah, honestly, that was about the part where I started to say, "Are you sure this was a good game?"
Yeah,
Which, what I didn't like, as I said, I enjoyed the first interaction where it just walked around the corner because horror games don't do that.
mhm.
What bothered me was what happened immediately after. Because I want to talk about the mold a little bit in depth. Not like what they are, but more what they do.
Mhm.
So the first one I fought was down in the basement, walks around the corner, and like I had a moment of just clarity because I killed the thing in like 2 to 3 shots. So like that was just me being good, and like something clicked for once in my head, and I was good at a first person shooter. What bothered me was the next one immediately after it because I knew what I was fighting at that point. It took almost 3 times the amount of bullets to take down.
Hmm.
It's RNG. And that's the first biggest issue with these things. The fact that because it's a first person game, you finally have the ability to aim at body parts, and it takes anywhere between I've done it in 2 somehow, but it takes anywhere between 2 and 10 shots, 10 headshots to kill these things.
Yeah, and
I've nailed the fucker 10 times in the head and it finally died. And one of the other things that makes it just horrible to fight these things is not the fact that they're there and they're stupid, but it, you are punished for getting headshots. Because if you get a headshot, it stuns it for a second, and then it retaliates with an even more powerful attack.
mhm.
Which most of the time, because of the tight spaces you're in, you don't have the time to dodge it. Although, like, you can do a long, drawn out fight with these things where, like, you run around the corner, get into a long hallway, do a headshot, it does its thing, then do another headshot, it does its thing, and then you run around, and, like, I've done that with a couple of them.
And I think that's
It's
key, the way you worded that.
it's long and drawn out.
It's long and drawn out. That's what the second
Or
half of the game is.
or if you want to try to do it quickly, you are going to get hit. And as I was saying to my girlfriend, I was explaining why I didn't like this segment is because you should never be forced into a situation, and this happens in the boathouse, which is why it's my least favorite area of the game. You're forced into a situation where you are going to get hit. No matter how good you go about it, you are going to get hit. Which thankfully they had a block function in the game. I could have done without it. I really could have done without the block function and less jackass enemies. Because one, if you punish an enemy or if you punish the player for being good, it leaves a very sour taste in your mouth because then you're just like, oh, I shot you in the head, you retaliated and took out half my health. Huh. Okay. Um so now I have to go about this not just safely, but asininely safely by running to the other side of the fucking room and then shoot you. Like
It's
it's not even that I don't want to encounter you because like you're legitimately scary or you have a lot of health, you're not worth fighting, or some other legitimate reason, but just the fact that if I shoot you, you're gonna punch me and it's gonna fucking hurt.
mhm. And
And
let me see. This just came up. Uh
sorry.
the molded could have had a better design that would make them a million times better. Well, when I call them a generic Power Rangers ass enemy, it's not just the design, it's the fact that here you have the family who are unique characters and all horrifying to deal with. They
Yeah,
did a
like they're
lot
actually people.
with, like, let's see, what was that, 3 people? Or 4 people
Yeah.
if you count the girlfriend that got fucked up. Um,
Nah,
they,
kind
they
of, maybe. I don't know.
they did a lot with those four enemies total. It was perfect. And then to pad out the rest of the game, and that's what they are. It's just padding. Like, okay, generic horde of enemies. Like, instead of being a horror game, we're gonna make it very, like, discount Last of Us for this last bit. So, there you go. Just...
It's not even the second half. It's the bits in between when you encounter family members.
It's just fucking...
It's just filler. What they could have honestly done...
Got rid of them?
Was... Yes, but here's the
Entirely.
thing. In that entire section in the basement, all you had to do is get rid of those enemies, and it's a ballsy move to do this. But that entire basement section is completely safe. Think about it, though. You're going to be on edge the entire time. And, you know, it honestly won't work for multiple playthroughs. I get that. But think about it, though. You just got chased by Jack, and now you're down in the basement. Where the fuck does everything happen?
Basement.
Either in the attic or the basement. And now you're walking around this dark, dingy lit, mold-filled basement, and you got the banging and the ambient sounds going on.
So at that point, you just switch to entirely atmospheric.
Yeah. So at that point, you're just waiting for Jack to show up. And, you know, like maybe have a couple things fall over. You know, if you accidentally bump into something, like a can falls over or something breaks.
Maybe you pass by a vent or something, you can, like, hear them talking to each other.
Not even. Like, you don't even hear him. You don't know he's there. He's not even there, actually, until that section where you fight him again. But it's just like you pass by a light source, you see a shadow out of the corner of your eye, you think it's something, you look over. And it's just all meant to put you on edge. And video games don't do that, I guess because they're afraid to take that step. But I think it could have been much greater than what they did, because this section, not just with the molded one, there's a dick move in that same room where I fought the molded that took 10 headshots, where you solve a puzzle, and then an even fucking stronger one pops out of the thing that you're forced to fight. That hurts more and takes more bullets.
It's just...
I don't like shooting bullets. I am a hoarder. But, like, what pissed me off was right after that, you walk into this room, and 2 more of them spawn. Now, I'm good with my headshots and whatnot. I took care of them fairly easily. Then you walk into the next room. 3 more show up. I didn't know there were 3. So I ran past the one, because I don't like wasting bullets, and you can do this in Resident Evil 1. It's a reward for being proactive, you know? If you can run past the enemy, you save ammo. That's the one cool thing about Resident Evil 1. You pick your fights. You know, do you chance getting hit, wasting a good chunk of your health, or do you waste the bullets that you might need later?
Right.
So if you're proactive and good at what you do and you can time it properly, you can run past enemies without taking damage. In this game, you get dicked over because it has that sprint attack function that they had in Resident Evil 4, where if you sprint close to an enemy, they attack you based on the amount of time it takes you to get to them. I abuse the fuck out of that in Resident Evil 4 because you can make them do it.
We got 2 things in chat I wanted to bring up. First, Bug Boy the Guy, welcome to the stream, dude. How do you feel about FNAF? We talked about that earlier. Long story short, as far as horror goes, terrible games. They were only scary for a very small portion of the first game, and then after that, the horror's completely killed. But if you're into resource management, anxiety, that kind of thing, if you're into that kind of more tedious gameplay, then I guess it's for you. I can understand people being into that kind of thing, but as far as horror goes, it fails.
Yeah, that's like PewDiePie said. After the first death, it's not scary anymore, just because they're all the same. In the first game, it's all the same sound effect that you die. There's only 2 sections that it is scary, and that's the first time one fucks up and pops through the door, or when you see Foxy go, doo, 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 doo. Hey, bud!
Yeah, that was cool. It's like, oh shit, they're actually moving now. Fuck. That was a good scare. And I love. Yeah.
Mm.
I love how that was the game for PewDiePie to go, look, I'm not gonna fake it anymore, guys. Come on. I'm not pretending. I like how that was the one to break him. Okay, and the
That
other
was a
thing,
real moment, honestly.
oh god, it was. I'm really glad he did that. Um, okay, so
Mm.
Arthur brought up, okay, I feel like they should have
Yeah.
made the humans covered and mold and maybe added molded animals like crocs, bats, hell, even some classic
That
dogs, rabbits, even. Crocodiles would be good, especially considering it's taking place in the bayou in Louisiana.
I
Like,
was going to bring this up. I wasn't going to talk about it until I explained the mold further.
but,
But
like,
yeah.
that would have been good. Play with the environment a little more. Like, they did that with the bugs. That's good.
Fuck bugs.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one thing they choose.
Yeah, of course it's bugs. But dude, a section where you have to go through the water and there's like a even if it's just normal fucking alligators, it would be alligators by the way, Arthur. Even if it was just alligators, just normal, not even molded, just normal. Like that'd be
They'll
fucking
still kill you.
scary.
They'll still
Going
kill you.
yeah, just like wading through like I don't know, like chest high water, knowing that there's one or two somewhere in there. You just like hear the growl every so often.
Oh no.
And that's not even the warning that you're getting too close. That's the warning like, "Oh, you stepped in the wrong spot. Might want to start moving." But that would
But
be cool.
yeah, what I was gonna say though about the molded, um, just I wanted to touch on that same section I was talking about where you get assaulted by 5 of them. One, that's annoying. Come on, dude. Like, you're telling me that suddenly there's 5 of these fucking zombie things coming out of the woodwork and you have to fight them? Like, there's no option. You have to fight these
Uh,
enemies.
yeah.
They're placed in such a way that when I tried to run past, I got smacked by one, and then another one spawned. I got smacked by that one, and then when I tried to unlock the door, I got smacked again, and that's death. And that again, bad sour taste in my mouth because that's being punished for trying to be proactive.
Mm-hmm.
I I get it. Like you can't just run through an area and hope you'll be safe, but eh, that's just too much. That takes the horror out of it. It becomes not an action game, but what Dead Space did. You know, where you're just being constantly bombarded with enemies and it's done in the wrong way because they're just tedious to fight. They take up a lot of rounds and they're just there. Like they're just an obstacle, which I know what you have to do it properly is you have to go back up, get the shotgun, and then deal with them because they die in one hit after that. But to do so much work to get rid of enemies that shouldn't be there in the first place isn't good. The Jack fight I liked after that, but it also kind of sucks because the shotgun ammo is so limited, and the fact that they make you waste it on that only to put you in front of a boss immediately after is a really dick move.
Hmm.
Like that's just bad design. They make you waste really good ammo that you just got on basic enemies only to throw you in front of a boss fight. That's like making you waste your entire supply of ammo and then putting El Gigante in front of you.
Again, you get rid of the molded, you get rid of the ship section, and you have yourself a perfect Resident Evil
I
game.
like the ship to a certain degree.
I okay,
Only
I
to
liked
a small degree.
I liked the story that was revealed there. I didn't like the ship at all. It just dragged and dragged and dragged.
I didn't like how long the video section was.
Eh,
Like, the one thing I did like was the videos. Like, you could see a little bit of what happened,
Yeah,
and then
that was fine.
it's useful because you watch like the Happy Birthday one, you see how to solve the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, it's like, oh, I don't want to fucking watch the videos. This is stupid. And you go through the puzzle. It's like, oh god, what is this? Oh god,
Happy birthday!
happy birthday.
Junkrat was behind it all along.
Okay, I will say one thing that did piss me off.
That the
When
sun
you
wasn't
watch
Junkrat?
he's Junkrat in disguise, but no, when you do watch the Happy Birthday video, you know damn well what's gonna happen as the main character when you walk in that door. Like, you do everything flawlessly, you don't get hit. What pisses me off is in certain sections of that, you have no choice but to take the hit.
Hmm.
Like, I tried it out. If you put the balloon on the gas thing, you still get hit. Like, it still makes you sit there and watch the balloon fill up. That's stupid. Because you've already seen it, you've already seen what happened to the guy, you're not gonna just stand there and take it. Then, I didn't try it with the clown because I assumed it was gonna happen in the same way. But, the other thing, with the cake, you can hear it ticking for 3 full seconds and you don't move. You don't even attempt to move.
Yeah, ticking is the universal sign of duck under something.
Like, even when I was playing the video, like, the first time I completed that section and I heard tick, 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 I was like, "Oh, the cake's gonna explode," and I tried to move over to somewhere else, and it's like, "Oh, I just gotta
Yeah, like
sit
pretty
here and take
much.
it like a bitch."
All right, so a bunch of people are saying they like the VHS segments. I don't have an issue. I don't think the issue is that the VHS segments are bad. It's just that even after you watch the VHS, there are moments that are scripted that if you watch the VHS, you would know, oh, I should get out of the way of this, or hey, I shouldn't do this way, but they force you to do it that way.
Alright, and also segments in the game where as a player, the second you do this, but you can't do anything to prepare for it.
Hmm.
It just but, what else was I gonna say? Yeah, so it does a lot of, putting you in sections where you're going to get hit, but after you deal with the molded and Jack and whatnot, you finally get outside. I liked outside. I think it
Hmm.
was a very one, I wanna say this, I don't we haven't said it yet. The game is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Like, level design, just absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I would actually want to explore the house in person. They did a really good job in designing a southern house, a plantation home. Like, they did a really, really good job in doing that.
Hmm.
And just the environment feels really good to interact with. And kind of a surreal moment happened when I was running from the first save room you got to um to down into the basement, and it was just running, open the door, run over here, open the door, go down the stairs, open that door, and then I'm just like, wait, there's no loading the entire time.
Yeah. That is pretty impressive. That's a good feat.
It it feels so surreal when you do it because it's like that's that's how it would be in real life. Like, there's no running, load door, go through the door. Like, it's just open, 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 open. It's like this feels weird. It feels like I'm really running around in this house. You can get to the section where you fought Jack in only a couple seconds,
It's the
and then
little
you
things
realize,
in life, like opening doors without taking a full minute or so.
yeah, it feels nice. It really complements the game when you realize that everything is so close together, but because you're so tense and you have to avoid these things that it takes a while. Not counting the molded, because that's just
Hmm.
I would rather headbutt mold than fight those things.
But
But going
if
into hmm? If what?
but if we can switch to another game where we think horror works,
Aw.
well, we have been on Resident Evil 7 for quite a while.
I know, but I want to talk about what makes it work and what doesn't because this is like the whole
Well,
segment of the show.
that's what we've been talking about. Like
I
we've been
know what
talking
we're
about the
talking
stuff that
about.
works. We've been talking about the stuff that doesn't. We've been harping on those goop monsters for a bit now.
Yes.
I mean, they are terrible.
I want to harp on two more things about
Okay,
the game.
two things real quick.
No variety in the enemies. You get the family, and then you get the goop.
Yeah.
There are two variations of the goop. And no, I'm not talking about the ones with the bigger arms. I'm talking about you get the crawly, jumpy dudes, and then you get the walkie, slimy dudes. Um, Other than that, there is no variation, and that bothers me to no end. Because in the first Resident Evil game, you get zombies, dogs, bugs, birds, hunters, tyrants, spiders. and
snake.
a bunch of other shit. I'm probably freaking giant snake, sharks, megalodon-sized
Oh
shark.
yeah, I forgot about the shark.
That was one of my favorite things because you remember the thing about the alligator?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that happens. You don't fight it. You run. And yeah, chest high water, run, don't die. Um, but yeah, you get all these different variations of enemies. In Resident Evil 7, you get the family, which is cool. They're really unique and awesome, except Margaret. Fuck her. She's got bugs. And then you have mold. It feels like mold. It feels like I'm fighting mold. So I guess it's accurate, but you get the two variations and you get stronger variations of the walking ones, and then you get the ones that crawl on all fours and they jump at you, which I have taken down in one shot many times. It feels fucking fantastic. But there's no variation after that. There's no like there's no alligator mold monster or snake mold, or if it's going to be entirely mold, you could at least mold the rest of the animal population. Like there's
Yeah,
nothing.
and even
You
with
want to tell me
that,
that a redneck family doesn't have a dog or two?
well,
You wanna
I
tell
would
me that this
assume the way
fucking
they were
family
acting,
of
they would probably
rednecks
eat them. But um,
maybe that was the first thing they were trying to eat is just moldy dog.
um, so
The fat guy is just a walking mold.
so have you guys seen the DLC stuff? Yeah, it was okay.
No,
They were
I've not.
fun mini games.
No, I haven't played it yet. I do want to play Zoe or End of Zoe and the other one, but I have not played it yet because I want to see what happens with Lucas, since he was not in the final part of the game, which is kind of cool. I thought I tripped out on that and I missed something, but no, he legitimately just runs away.
Yeah, there's let's see the DLC stuff. I've seen the one with Margaret. I've seen the one with the son whose name I can never remember.
Lucas.
Lucas. They're fun mini games. But they're all right. I don't like the idea of games having DLC. I just like a full completed game when I buy it.
I like
So it
DLC.
immediately puts a bad taste in my mouth.
I like DLC when the game is full. Like, think of Resident Evil 4 with all its unlockables and whatnot. But then, sometime down the line, they're like, hey, you know what? People really love this game. Let's add this to it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know.
It's just DLC
They
in
add like
general
another.
puts a bad taste in my mouth, just because it has that emotional attachment for me, where it's just,
I get that. I don't like it when.
I gotta download more shit, which is gonna take up more space for the same game, and it's probably just some mini games I'm not gonna care about in a week.
Well, I like to think of it in the ways of Borderlands, where in the first game you get the entire game, and then I mean, like it's a huge fucking game with a bunch of
Mhm.
side quests,
So I've
interesting
heard.
characters. It's got a full story, like a full legitimate story, and then you get DLC, which they released periodically, which are also full stories, like full games. It's not like, oh, we added this DLC weapon or we added this DLC character. It's like full game, like almost as long as the actual game. That's when DLC works for me. When you add on an entirely new part of the game, then it works. Not just like, oh, you get this DLC weapon, you get this DLC costume. Like, why didn't you put this in the game? I mean,
Um,
if it's like 2 years down the line and you finally decide to give someone something, sure. Like what they did with Dark Souls, where it's like, hey, you got this thing. And then like a year or two down the line, after we've started developing Dark Souls 2, we made this. It's like, oh, cool.
it did. Oh wait, no, that was the remastered version. My bad. I was thinking of the Black Dragon boss, but I forgot that was actually in the remastered version of the game, not
Nope.
a DLC.
No, that's a
He's in the DLC too.
Calamite? Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he's in the Abyss DLC, which is the only DLC for Dark Souls.
Oh, neat.
Yeah, they only have one, and as far as I remember, it's just another big section of the game. But that's when DLC is good, when it is a big section of the game, not just,
I gotta admit though.
oh yeah, we added this, and yeah, it's just a little mini game. It's cool.
I watched the boss fight, and that's pretty disappointing.
Yeah, that's
Like
what people keep saying.
when I see stuff like when you fight like the fire drake,
I hate that.
it's just a drake. Drake's got nothing on fucking dragons, all right? But when the dragon is like a really, really, really shitty version of the Drake, pretty lame, especially with how cool he looks.
And considering he's a DLC final boss,
Yeah, it's like just like this is the most basic bitch Dark Souls boss I've seen. Like, are you if you're able to fight what was it, the gaping demon? If you're able to fight
the
that
gaping dragon. Yeah.
gaping dragon, whatever, it's more demon than dragon. Let's be honest. Um,
Yeah.
if you're able to fight that, you're able to fight this super hard DLC boss. It's like, can you stick to its side and press the attack button? Yes. You beat him. Congrats.
Yeah. That didn't work with the fire demon in Dark Souls 2.
No. But as for, did you have the second thing ready you wanted to harp on?
It was fuck. The biggest one I wanted to harp on was just the fact that there was no variety in enemies.
Oh yeah, that's
And
always.
that it just there was one fucking thing I'm trying to think of real quick. Trying to think, and I can't. My brain hurts too bad. I think the final part of the game did end too abruptly. And then it
It's
took everything horror out of it.
yeah, it's weird. It was like a really abrupt end after a super dragged out game. You know what I mean? Like, it didn't. I don't know. The pacing was off, I guess, overall.
Yeah, because what I did like about the ship for the first bit was you start encountering mold with no weapons,
Mm-hmm.
and it's just sudden. You're just into it, and I like that. I enjoyed that because it puts you back in that tense situation that you don't have anymore because you just fought Super Jack, where you have a shotgun, flamethrower that does jack fucking shit, a grenade launcher, and whatever else. So like you already have your supply of super powerful weapons, and then suddenly you're just stripped back to not even having a knife. Like you don't even have a knife, and then you start, you got to deal with these things, and you got to deal with the running molds. But and to touch on what Arthur said earlier, the fat mold does not fucking count. All it does is throw up at you. I beat the boss the first time in the barn without taking damage.
It
I sat in its face and I ducked and I went to the left or right when it did the vertical throw up. It was not hard to figure out. I didn't even take one bit of damage. It was a boring enemy and I thought it was going to be cool.
so as far as other horror games that work,
Subnautica.
Subnautica's good. I was gonna go for Little Nightmares.
You know,
The-
we could talk about either. I was only going
Actually,
to
you know
talk
what?
about a couple things.
They kind of use the same kind of horror, actually. Well,
The
Little Nightmares is a little more grotesque in appearance and everything, more gross, but they're
well,
both pretty much just survival anxiety.
oh, sorry. You're both kings of something. My bad. I saw king and then I'm confused. Y'all need better names like hi. I'm with stupid.
Um,
I'm sorry. But yeah, my bad. It was the other guy that talked about him. But what I was gonna say with Subnautica, what works is the fact that it wasn't primarily a horror game.
yeah.
That's why I like it. Oh hey, the gamer from Brit.
Hey, welcome to the stream, dude. See, the gamer from Brit. I can't believe Telltale Games are shutting down. They're not even putting out the rest of the Walking Dead episodes. Yeah, that was so sudden too.
Called it.
I didn't hear anything about that until like just today. It's like, oh, they're shutting down. Like,
Yeah, like
fuck,
10
what?
seconds before we started the stream.
Yeah, like what the hell? What happened? They've sacked over 200 people without severance. Oh god damn.
Jesus.
Sales that low?
What the fuck happened? I thought it was supposed to be a good series. 6
I'm
hours ago.
I mean, from what I understand, a lot of people really liked it.
Pretty much a dumbass.
But it's
Oh.
but yeah, that does fucking suck, honestly.
I just found out about it right before we started the stream, so shit. Ex-CEO, fuck them for revenge, huh? The Evil Within, I have seen, have not played, do like it, don't know how Jeff feels about it. Probably about the same as he feels about Resident Evil.
Within.
No, Dead Space. The Evil Within was the one game about going into your mind.
Let me see. Evil Within.
It is
I think the
done
one
well.
I saw more of was the second one.
That was the one Markiplier streamed.
I didn't watch Markiplier stream it. I think I watched the very little that Game Grumps played.
Think of the game works
Oh, you know
similarly
what?
to Dead Space, but with crafting.
I remember. Oh yeah, I didn't get to see a whole lot of the first Evil Within. I started watching a playthrough of it, and I just got too bored before any of the good stuff happened. It's just
Understandable.
environment, characters, voice acting, everything was just so dull. I couldn't get into it. Like they lost me immediately in the first like 30 minutes to an hour. It was just done.
Can't blame you.
I can't watch this.
It takes a little while to build up, so I don't blame you. I like the game in terms of like actually being scary. The second one does a better job of it, but it also has the same issue of Dead Space where it
becomes more action than horror.
kind of, yeah. It is definitely more action than horror, but there are segments early on where you do not want to be seen, and they have a sneak function. And if you're good at it, you can take enemies down stealthily. If not, and you alert people, you are going to die. If you don't find some way to get out of the situation, you are going to die. Because early on, ammo is not common, and it has the same thing that all horror games recently have, where you can upgrade stuff. Yeah, until you upgrade your damage or your health or whatnot, you do not want to fight any of these guys. So early on, it works in terms of being scary. I like the design. I like the enemies. And there's one section that I legitimately got scared of with a ghost lady that you can't fight. If she sees you, you're dead. Like legitimately, if she sees you, you're dead. It's not even a oh no, I have to run. It's if she sees you, you're dead. And she's looming constantly. It came out of nowhere too.
See, Bugboy says, "Have you played Until Dawn?" I've watched a bunch of people play it. I mean, not scary, but it's a great little homage to like classic horror movie tropes. I think it does it. I think it does that really well. It's super enjoyable. I really like the games.
I somewhat disagree about that. I think it is scary.
How so? It's pretty standard stuff.
It's standard, but it is done well. I mean, I know it's a choose your own adventure thing.
Yeah.
But sometimes it is scary, sometimes it's not. But just the threat of these things. Again, it's like it's one of those situations where no matter what you do, you can't kill them, but they're always there. I don't know. I like humanoid designed creatures because aliens don't really do much for me in terms of being scared. Like humans will always be scarier to me just because humans can actually kill you. Like your coworker can come up and stab you at any given point in time. So having something in your immediate vicinity that's humanoid, it's kind of spooky. That and I can't think of the word for it, but it's disconcerting when something that looks human suddenly turns out to be this horrifying monster that's really unsettling. because if like silhouettes of people always scare me more than anything because you don't know if it's looking at you, and if it's just kind of standing there, you don't know how fast it's going to move. Especially in a horror game, it's probably going to be fast.
Hmm.
But I don't know, it's just something unsettling about a humanoid silhouette that it's just creepy. But on top of that, when the monsters are introduced in certain segments, it's just ugh, I don't
Uh,
like it. I
for
don't
me,
like being
it's
I
for
don't
me,
like
it's
being
very
stalked.
similar to the way that the xenomorphs work. Obviously, different mechanics. Um,
Right.
but the same kind of horror thing that they're going for it. I mean, to me, it's entertaining. It's just not scary. Um, but yeah, I was definitely entertained by the game. I really liked it. I had to watch like so many different people's playthroughs of it just because I wanted to see more of the game and different character interactions and shit like that. I
Yeah.
thought some of the deaths were really fucking brutal, and like you get that like chill from it. Not like a scary chill, but just like a sudden moment of loss where you're like, oh fuck. Like I think one of the ones one of the ones
That
that
killed
got me well,
Markiplier.
well one of the ones that got me was let's see, what was it? I can't remember his name. The character that oh yeah, Chris. Whose name I only remember because he looks exactly like Chris Raygun. But yeah, when Chris gets killed, where he's like trying to get back into the house, but then that bitch doesn't let him in, and then the Wendigo gets him there. That was brutal as fuck. Like that one got me, where I got that like sudden chill down my spine. I'm like, oh fuck.
What happened? I can't remember that one.
He fucked up with her at some point. Like he said something fucked up to her, or something she took as fucked up. I don't really remember the interaction, but she decided not to let him into the house when he was running from a Wendigo, and
Mm.
the thing just came up behind him. I think it either impaled him or sliced his head off, one of the two.
Ah.
But it was just like sudden, like it just happened. No real lead up. Like it's coming after him. She denies him entrance and then just bam, dead.
Yeah.
No pomp and circumstance. That fucker is gone.
That's what I liked about the Wendigos though, is it is no nonsense
Yeah.
death. And that's part of the reason why I think it makes it scary is the fact that it can happen so suddenly. And two sections got me. Um Not really scary, just that unsettling shiver up the spine.
Mm-hmm.
Is when I forgot who it was, basic bitch number 12 being chased by a Wendigo, and it's like an action sequence that you can only fuck up so many times before you die.
Oh yeah, yeah. When they're going through the tunnels.
It was probably an extension of that, but it's when you're going up like the mine conveyor belt machine, whatever. Like where
Yeah, I
she's
think I know
running
the
and she
section
has
you're
to run
talking
up
about.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's chasing you. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
And if you fuck up too many times, you die, which thankfully Mark didn't, because he's the one I watched to play through it. But it's just being chased like that was so unsettling the way they were doing it. Because if you put yourself in that situation, you're just like, "Ooh, I would have died. I'd have died." And then the other one, which broke Mark, where the girl opened up the hatch and the thing just popped out and crushed her head. That was brutal for one. That gave me chills. But just how suddenly it happened, because there was
Yeah.
no warning. Just whoop, whoop, dead.
Yeah, and it's and that's something that comes into play a lot if you're into cosmic horror, where it's just the idea of humans being completely, like everything on Earth just being completely insignificant. Like you just be snuffed out, and you know, no pomp and circumstance. It's like no, just gone, whatever. Um, that's something that plays into stuff like that, where there's an apex predator that just like it's like pretty much just brushing you aside. just murdering you left and right. Even though I haven't watched the show because I can't watch the show. What was it, Blood C Plus? Have you seen the clips of that? Yeah, like that. That's pretty much what it is. It's just like you're insignificant. You're this ant, essentially, if that. And that's what's horrific. Just to feel so small and insignificant. Whether it's, just in terms of the scale of the universe or an actual being that dwarfs you and just snuffs you out like nothing that you can't deal with. Okay, so Subnautica and Little Nightmares. We brought those up.
I have seen Little Nightmares. You have played Little Nightmares.
Yeah.
So you probably have a different feel than I have for the game.
Mm-hmm.
Though it is still an incredibly unsettling game. The atmosphere is dark, dreary, and you're surrounded by things that cosmic horror you can't do anything about. They are giants compared to you.
Yeah.
And if you so much as get touched by one of these things, you're dead. They
Yeah,
grab you and do whatever with.
It's the grotesque warped caricatures that you're dealing with. What it kind of reminded me of, did you ever watch Fraggle Rock?
No, but I know what you're thinking of.
The big guys?
Yeah.
They steal the crops from them and all that shit? It's like an entire game where the enemies are those guys.
Yeah.
Where it's like these really relatively gigantic things that are so... I can't exactly remember what those guys looked like. I just remember being really unsettled by them. But it gives me the same feeling. And it's just, they're so gross and grotesque. I just can't look at them. They're disgusting. And when they're grabbing you, it's just so, you really get that fight or flight survival feeling. And anytime like one doesn't see you yet, you really feel the need to try your best to plan out everything ahead as best you can so you don't get fucking spotted, you don't get caught. It really does survival horror a lot of justice. I think it was really good at that. I had some qualms with some of the puzzles here and there, but I mean, they're mild, honestly. When you had to deal with the bitch in the water, that shit was like, before I got used to her, it was really unsettling.
I still don't know what that looks like, and I don't want to.
Yeah, it was one of those things. I remember it. I remember it pretty vividly. I was just going through my little speech like, oh, it's actually really cool that you don't see what this is because it lets your mind, fill in the blanks and it comes up with something more horrible than they could come up with. Then it showed her for a second. I'm like, no, I wish I didn't see that actually.
No, my mind ain't got nothing on that.
Nah, dude. Like, dude, you remember from The Shining, the chick in the shower?
I never watched The Shining.
Oh, really? Oh, well,
Nope.
It's pretty much the bitch that killed herself in the tub, but in the water, chasing you, very fast. And anytime you stand on something, she's fucking with it.
Tickle, tickle, tickle.
No, she's like shaking it around so you'll fall off.
Tickle, tickle.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking scary. It's
Speaking
like,
of which-
holy shit.
Speaking of which, the doorman, whatever the fuck his name is.
Oh, God, Mr. Tickles?
Yes.
I'll forever call him that.
That is one of the most unsettling things I've ever seen.
The sounds.
That is what horror is.
Oh, God. Like,
He is grotesque looking. His head's fucking peeling like an onion. And he makes such horrible, unsettling sounds. And
Just
when like his janky movements too.
the clicking, the twitching, the snapping, just
Ugh. And his arms just constantly reaching and yeah.
And with him, the whole thing is sound, right? Because his eyes are covered. The janitor, yeah, that's his name. But yeah, we call him Mr. Tickles. Tickle, tickle, tickle.
That
but
one creepy
but
uncle that
but yeah,
doesn't understand
he's
personal space.
Uncle Touchy. Um, but yeah, his whole thing is that he operates on sound. If you make too much noise, or any noise, really, he starts like he turns his head, he's listening for you, he hones in on you, and he just darts right at you like fucking snow in our man. Um, but what they really captured there was that feeling where you're like walking through the house really late at night and every sound, you're trying really hard to be quiet. Every sound you make sounds like fucking pans hitting the floor. Every like your sense is so heightened, and they captured that perfectly for the sections with the janitor. It like that's what those sections are. It's just you're so paranoid about what sounds you're making. Like I was walking on the carpeted sections, which are the safe sections. You walk on the carpet slowly, you're fine. He won't hear you. But you still hear the mild, like padded footsteps, and you get paranoid that you're making too much noise and you don't want to move. Which can still be detrimental because every once in a while he'll start going around the room again and he might get too close to you so you can't run away. Like you'll be fucked. I think they did a really good job with the horror in that game.
They did.
Yeah.
Every enemy was unsettling.
Oh yeah. I think maybe to a lesser extent, the Kabuki lady.
Yeah.
Little less horror there, but she's really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And the ending is just awesome.
Satisfying.
It's really satisfying. You're walking down that aisle with all these horrible creatures that were trying to devour you earlier, and you're just doing that fucking overpowered evil villain thing where you're just walking down and everyone around you is just dropping like flies. The horror with the really cool music in the background and everything. You're walking slow and dramatic. Everyone's dying. It's fucking cool. It's like, yes, I don't quite understand it, but I'm cool with this.
When I saw that, I know their initial reaction that you're supposed to have, if you're not fucked up in the head, you're supposed to look at that and go like, "Oh my god, what the hell? What is he doing or she? I don't know. It's ambiguous. Oh my
Genderless
god, what's going
child.
on?" But my reaction was, "Yeah, I'd do that. I'd do it." I was cheering it on. I'm like, "Oh, thank you. Oh, please go on." Because I had an instinctive hate for all the fat fuckers coming off that boat.
Yeah.
I just I I see so much of what I hate in that,
Mm-hmm.
and then at the end, that was just so cathartic and satisfying that I know it was dark and you're probably just as bad as the Kabuki lady, but I enjoyed it so fucking much because it's just like, you're taking revenge for all the shit they just put you through.
I'm kind of interested. Like I haven't read like the comics or anything. I don't know a whole lot about the world itself, but just from the limited knowledge that I have just playing through the game once, like part of me really hopes that all of this is just from like the perspective of children and everything, and this is how they see like the modern world that's so consumerist, so like just so disgustingly gluttonous. Like
That's
this
what
is
I
how they
thought
see
it.
everything. That's what I thought they were going for. I don't think it is, but for me that seems like a really cool route they could go.
Up
It's,
until the geisha, that's what I thought it was.
yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure what part she would play in that.
I think
Maybe just like people profiting off of
I
that
think that
gluttony.
was your mom.
Maybe like there's stuff
Because
in there that suggests to me that she's related in some way. Maybe not mother, but some kind of close relation. Like there are paintings that are mildly obscured where it's you and her in the painting together.
oh
Um,
shit.
but I don't know any solid information on it.
Well, apparently there's a Little Nightmares TV show being made by the people who made The Nightmare Before Christmas.
That could be interesting.
That could be scary, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope they don't deviate too far from the feel of it, but man, that'd be kind of cool to watch.
Oh, would it be claymation though? That'd be interesting.
It'd be like Coraline.
Hmm.
Huh.
I wouldn't
That
mind
could
that.
really that could really fucking work because Coraline already looks like that girl, just without the hood.
Yeah, honestly, not bad. It's not a bad road to go, actually.
No. That and because it is claymation and janky, it's even more unsettling because
Just
then
unnatural
Miss
movements. Oh god,
yeah.
especially with the janitor.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Oh.
That would work perfectly with him.
Ugh. Fuck that. Um.
Oh god.
Okay, so Subnautica, also
Subnautica.
survival horror. Emphasis on the survival.
It's not a horror game. That's the
It's
beauty
not.
of it.
It's all
It is.
natural survival instinct and fear.
That's what made me love the game. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, what's amazing is the juxtaposition of the fact that everything is vibrant, beautiful, very, very, very warm tones, like very bright reds, blues, yellows, greens, and like everything is, all things considered, peaceful.
Mm-hmm.
Like you have the stalkers, they're really just doofy, snappy nosed fish that bite you if you get too close. You have sand sharks where they're the epitome of annoyance.
Yeah.
They don't do anything. They just wiggle at you like fucking sea gnats.
Just
Yeah. I think I've been damaged by one like 5 times in my total runtime of Subnautica.
annoying little
Just
fuckers.
oops. But just everything is peaceful
It's just nature.
until you go down. Once you get past a certain depth, everything or go into certain biomes, mind you, everything becomes creepy because
Mm-hmm.
then the music becomes more fitting for your environments. You have like the actual horror zone of the game, which is the blood kelp zone, where everything is pitch black, and the only way you can really see is if you have sonar. And then you realize that you're either A in this big fucking abyss or B a trench that goes down for about 400 meters,
Mm-hmm.
which if you can do maths, that's 1200 feet down. So you are like a fifth of a mile down below the sea.
You're in the deep end.
And and yeah, there are many, many sounds that if you turn the music off that you probably don't want to hear. They make really fucking awesome sounds, but like you don't want to see what made those sounds.
Like if you go through on YouTube, you can find videos that are just like little collections of the noises that each animal makes in Subnautica.
The crab squid makes some of the creepiest and coolest at the same time.
They all of them make horrifying sounds. And they're
But
great. They're great for
even
atmosphere. It really feels like you're in the ocean.
eh,
Like that game. It's great. Like it's so unintentionally horror. It's I love it. Just the
well, it's
idea of you not being suited to this environment, you being completely alien to it, and just all of these apex predators, just so like there's not even any pomp and circumstance about it. It's just like, well, it saw you. Now you're fucked. Bye.
bye, kids. But that also leads to another thing I was gonna say. It captures the feel of being in open water
Mm-hmm.
because once you go out a certain, once you go out a certain distance from the safe shallows, you can't see down.
Yeah.
And I know the game inside and out. I can tell you exactly where these things spawn, what their routes are, what they do, and even then, I don't like being above a certain threshold once I go over into the deep end because I like to see the floor.
Mm-hmm.
I like to know where the floor is. I like to know that the only thing I need to worry about is what's above me because the scariest thing that you can ever imagine is something coming out of the darkness and just coming up at you.
Yeah, funny story about that, Logan.
Yeah, we did that.
So I streamed Subnautica a while back, and I was doing some off-screen grinding, and Logan tagged along because Logan knows where everything is, so he's helped me out. He told me to go to this area. Very dark. I was assured that nothing would pop out.
I know what you're talking about now.
You see, I had not seen the Ghost Leviathan before this point.
Because it was brand fucking new.
It was new to me. I hadn't seen it. It's new to me. So I'm collecting. What was it? Like the little circle things with the purple bulbs.
You were collecting MacGuffins. Sea MacGuffins.
Yeah. Anyway, I was collecting little plants and shit that I needed for recipes, and I look up like it's in a very deep trench, and there's a bunch of like just normal like stone, like rock pillars, little rock formations that I'm standing on.
For anyone that does know the area, it's the Grand Reef.
Grand Reef.
Yeah. So if you know the area, you know exactly what he's talking about now. And yeah.
So I was poking around there. I look left and right. I'm kind of just keeping an eye out. All right. So I grab the plants. Start walking back. I look off to the side, and it wasn't glowing as much. Like, I think the Ghost Leviathans, their light kind of like dims and brightens here and there.
Their bioluminescence is translucent, so it's not as bright as most creatures, and I do believe it does.
It does glow
have
more.
A bit of a spectrum.
Yeah, I think it glows more when it's more aggro.
It also does get it does get dimmer as it goes out, just because it's sea fog.
Yeah.
Like visibility becomes 0 after a certain distance.
So
that's natural.
To my side, I see the largest sea creature I have ever seen in this game just pass me by on the left side. Now, bear in mind, how big are these things, Logan?
Well, let's see. They are. This was a baby, so I'm going to assume it was about 150 feet long, 180 maybe.
It was around 150 to 180 feet long. 180-foot giant glowing sea snake with like a hammerhead is just casually zooming past me, and I just happened to see it by glancing over. And I thought I was fucked. It was like, fuck that. But that's what this game is good at. Like, if you're completely new to the game and everything, there's a little tiny bit of a tutorial to get you an idea of like how, this is how items work. You can craft these little survival things and whatever. And then you're just thrown out there. You'll follow beacons here and there, but you're free to explore. You explore the wrong fucking area, you're gonna shit yourself.
Actually, the beacons fuck you over in some circumstances. Namely, the first one where you have to go to the Aurora. What happens here?
Oh yeah, the crashed ship, which just happened to crash in an area infested with Reaper Leviathans.
I cheer myself up by thinking about how many it landed on.
One can hope. It would be funny if you like go to the bottom and you see like when the house landed on the witch, you just see like the tail coming out, like a little slipper on it.
That'd be an excellent Easter egg.
Oh, that'd be fantastic.
You go around to the other side and you just see one flapping there trying to get out.
Yeah, but that game it captures the horror of just the open water, and just the farther down you go, it's a new biome that you are completely alien to. You've never seen any of this before. You don't know what animals do what. And it's not just the big ones that fuck with you either. There's little ones. Like these little
bone
fuckers.
sharks.
Bone sharks are one, but I was talking like very little. What were they called? The little hypnotic ones?
Oh yeah, the mesmers.
The mesmers fuck with you. If you get too close to them, they start fucking with your head, and you start hearing, like it's telling you telepathically to swim towards it, so it can like bite you and just fucking nom on you a little bit, get some sustenance. But when it's telepathically communicating to you, it's using the information in your brain, and it's communicating in a way in a voice in your head that you're familiar with and you trust. In this case, it's the little robotic voice that, alerts you to like, oh, hey, you're in this kind of biome, watch out for possible things like this.
I like the little dick move things it does occasionally, where it's like, this biome is home to 7 of the 9 things that create fear in humans. It's like, oh, great.
Yeah, that's always funny. I remember the first really scary moment that I had in Subnautica. It was I think we were trying to find an island or the Grand Reef or something.
I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. And I was above water. I was driving there, I was following the coordinates and everything. Or no, I wasn't following coordinates at that point. I was just driving forward. And eventually the little AI comes up and says, "You are now entering an ecological dead zone." And I was reading that out. I'm like, "You are now entering an ecological dead zone." And just Logan immediately just like, "Fuck, turn around, turn the fuck around." Because not only are there ghost leviathans out there, those are the fully grown ghost leviathans, where they become
300 feet long.
They are gigantic and keep growing. Much like the alligator, fun fact. Alligators keep growing and living until they can no longer sustain their bodies.
The
yeah.
only reason they live out there is because they can't live inland. So
Because
where are you
they're
gonna go?
too fucking big. But yeah, I didn't see any that time, and that's what made it scarier. I didn't know what was out there.
Turn the fuck around.
All I knew about that area was turn the fuck around. But yeah, that like Subnautica is a good game if you're into that, and also if you're just really into the ocean, that game's great for you. Like I like to specify, I like observing the ocean. I like watching documentaries on like different fish at different levels of the ocean and everything. I really like watching that stuff. I would never go in it. I think I swam in the ocean a total of like 2 or 3 times. One of the times, not too far off. This was in the Gulf of Mexico. Not too far off from where I was swimming was a bunch of like nurse sharks. Nurse sharks, as far as sharks go, probably one of the better sharks to be near. But you don't think that when you're in the water. You see fins. You're not differentiating sharks. You're seeing fins.
It's like a airsoft gun from a Nerf. Oops, sorry. It's like a cop trying to differentiate a airsoft gun from a real one.
Does it have an orange tip? Who knows?
You don't have the time. You see fin, you get out.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that moment, like it like they were far enough away that I didn't shit myself or anything. But I just saw fins. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna stay on land now. I kind of forgot what the ocean was for a minute.
Ocean bad.
Ocean bad.
Ocean scary. Hop in.
Yeah. But yeah, Subnautica's good if you want that kind of horror.
I wanted to talk about one last thing with Subnautica, and it is the Reapers.
Oh, the Reapers.
The scariest thing. I know you hate the Ghost Leviathan. I hate the Reaper because they are far more present than the Ghost Leviathans, and they are far scarier because they make a sound, which is also accompanied by the scary...
thanks for the follow.
Oh, nice. Which is also accompanied by the scariest
brought into the fold.
text log entry in the game, where it states that their screams are sonar, and if you hear it, it sees you. If you saw this in real life, you would probably commit suicide. I would.
Yeah, at that point, it's full Sudoku.
I'd shoot myself before that thing even had a chance to see me. And I hear roars, I shoot myself. Oh no!
But for me, the Ghost Leviathans, the main thing that makes them scary for me, or at least did initially. Obviously, you get used to them.
Yeah, you get used to it.
Yeah, you do. 2 things made them scary for me. One, that initial experience I had with them and just the sheer size. And two, once they lock onto you and they're coming to kill you, you're face the other way, obviously, because you're swimming away or driving away or whatever you're doing.
Preferably driving.
Preferably driving, so you can, escape. When it's doing that, there is this ghostly, otherworldly scream coming from it, and you don't see it, obviously. So all you hear is it getting louder and louder and louder, no matter how fast you drive. It's just that impending "you're fucked" sound. And it sounds like an entire crowd of people screaming. It sounds like a crowd of ghosts screaming. It's really cool.
So
And then there's a
Dodger
loud
does
ass
not sound
chomp,
wrong.
and you're like, "Fuck!" You see the health bar go bonk.
Mind you, not as bad as when a Reaper does it.
No, when a Reaper catches you in a vehicle, it grabs the vehicle and shakes it around until it is no longer a vehicle. All the while, you're looking at it dead in the face as it's trying to get in and get the nougaty center, trying to see what's inside that Wonder Ball.
Oh, and it does have to, obviously, when the thing grabs you, yell at you, so you see inside of what you're about to do.
Yeah, it's just terrifying.
And it actually has a death animation, where if you are below 80% health, it grabs you and eats you.
Yeah.
And that's it. It's very quick, and you're dead.
Let me see if I can find...
Please don't.
No, I'm not going to find a thing of the freaking Reaper. I was trying to find the sound from the Ghost Leviathan.
Oh, find the sound from the Reaper, like the sounds it makes when it's just roaring around. Because that's also scary, because you hear this thing long before you see it, hopefully long before you see it. Unless you're stupid and end up driving directly into one, and then it's like you hear one roar and then suddenly see the tail wisp away. But yeah, the scary thing about them is you hear them,
Right.
but you don't know how far exactly it is away. And then it just patrols a certain point, but you just hear this thing in the distance. And occasionally, if it's swimming a little bit too close to you, you hear it louder. And then you're just like, oh no, please God, no.
Right.
I don't want it.
Oh, hey, I just want to reiterate something real quick for new people in the chat. I recently got a new job that's eating up a lot of my time, so my streams are pretty much just going to be once a week, probably on Friday nights. So because of that, I am also taking a little time to do recording sessions for Let's Play videos. Going to start doing those again on the YouTube channel. YouTube channel name is the same as it is here. Channel JAL. So if you guys are interested in that, I will be playing. The Legend of Spyro: New Beginning. And I think I might also be starting Spider-Man sometime soon.
Do it.
I'm heavily considering it because what I've seen looks really good.
I just want to talk with you about it because it is the best Spider-Man game to ever grace this earth.
I saw a couple glimpses of it, and it looks like Spider-Man 2, and that's what I like.
It's better than it is worlds better than Spider-Man 2. And considering that I've played Spider-Man 2 to completion multiple times, getting everything, well, except the exploration tokens, fuck that. That's just way too much work. But considering I absolutely adore Spider-Man 2, that should be saying something. It's like what you said with Resident Evil 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do it.
Okay, so...
And without the fallback in the mold. So, it's good.
Okay, so here are the sounds from the Ghost Leviathan. 2.0 is the most recent sounds, right?
Should be. I mean, they haven't really changed as far as I know.
Okay. So here we go. Here are the sounds that the Ghost Leviathan makes in the... Actually, you know what I should pull up? I should pull up an image, just in case people haven't seen this.
Yeah. Pull up the... Yeah, and if you can find the one with the Reaper, too, to do that.
Yeah, I can try that. Just so you guys get an idea of what kind of shit is fucking with you here. Ooh, here's a good image. That's a real good image. That's a real good image.
That's a real good. Oh, and find the size comparisons too.
Oh yeah, I'll try to find those. Let me see. Yeah, we could do an entire stream just talking about Subnautica. That game's a masterpiece.
Yeah,
Go buy and play Subnautica,
Go-
please.
Go support them, please. They're coming out with the DLC too. The Below Zero DLC. Don't know when that's coming.
I will be
To
playing the
Steam?
fuck out of that.
I will be playing the fuck out of it. Subnautica is just fantastic.
It is.
I just want I want DLC for that game. I want them to keep making more. That's a game I want DLC for. Also, Mirage asks, "Have you played a horror game
You're
called?"
beeping a lot, dude.
God damn it! Mirage asks if you've played a game on the PS2 called Haunting Grounds.
Hunting Grounds. I don't believe so. No. Though I do like the PS2.
Chainsaw Boss and the Evil Within. I don't. I feel like I remember that one, but it's been so long. Oh, and the opening cutscene for Parasite Eve. Whew. Yeah, that's creepy.
Supposedly it's on the desktop. Hang on, I'm trying to look for this image that I just saved, and it's not. It's fucking with me.
It's not in your downloads?
Ah, I saved it as desktop, and it's not. Ah, there it is. There it is. All right, so for reference, this is what this thing looks like. The small ones are 150 to 180 feet long. There's one coming up towards you in the foreground and one going down and to the right in the background. So here are the sounds you hear when you're around these things.
I like that look more. Like if that was just all one big thing.
Yeah.
Because then you got like the big swooshy tail in the back, and then you got whatever the fuck that's trying to do.
All right. So here we go.
Why does it need to make sounds?
Right? Yeah, that's
I feel
the.
like it missed one.
Those aren't the. None of those were the attack sound. That's
Yeah,
just
that's
the
what I thought.
ambient sound. That's just its normal communication while it's just kind of floating around.
Why does it need?
Ghost Leviathans are they're pretty scary ambient creatures. All right, so let me see. Reaper. Now we'll bring up the Reaper.
They are the scary ones to me.
Oh, they're definitely scary.
I don't know about if you changed their color palette, they could be so much worse. Because the red on blue looks good, but it looks cartoony. If you change their color palette to be more of a dark gray color, no.
They don't have a video with all of their sounds. I can find. All right, well, there's one showing its roar, but oh. Okay, so let me bring up an image. Reaper Leviathan.
There's plenty to choose from. I am still bothered by their classification as Leviathan class, though.
Not big enough?
No, because when I think Leviathan, I think Atlantis.
Oh yeah, that thing is cool.
That's a Leviathan. That thing had to be 1,000 feet long. Probably more than that. I mean, you see the size of the ship compared to that.
Right.
I mean, that's just fucking massive. Actually, you know what? I want to take a look at that again. Ah, Atlantis sub The Lost Empire, jackass.
Ah, there it is. Cool.
The Ulysses. Okay, so that's... Oh my god.
All right. So you ready for the Reaper?
Yeah, I'm gonna do some math. Um,
Okay, so here's the Reaper Leviathan. Not quite as big as the Ghost Leviathan, but still pretty damn large. Very much in charge. Very aggressive.
very in charge.
Uh,
Actually, that is 150 feet long.
150?
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a video. I hope it's okay. Video of its roar. So yeah, those are the sounds you hear around that thing.
That is what makes it the scariest thing in the game. In my opinion. I hate it more than the dragon because the dragon just looks doofy in my eyes. It's cute. Um, until you see it coming down at you faster than anything else in the game.
Yeah.
That was unexpected and scared the shit out of me the first time.
Yeah.
Because I looked up and I saw this thing going woo, and I was like, oh,
Why is it fast?
why is it gotta be fast?
Why is it fast? All right, so that's it for the Subnautica stuff, I think.
I think we covered everything.
Yeah, I think.
Just
all right, so
what makes it so
at this
good.
point in the show, why don't we go to the part where we take questions and comments from the chat? We just kind of riff on that for a bit. We're at the 3-hour mark.
Yeah, we could do that. Oh, by the way, I just want to state that that sub that he's holding is 382 feet long.
Jesus.
A Reaper is half the size of that sub.
So yeah, the Leviathan from Atlantis is pretty fucking big.
Yeah, that is why I was disappointed in the classification of Leviathan in Subnautica. Not that anything was disappointing about the Leviathans themselves, because
No.
mind you, Godzilla be hungry. But yeah, just the fact that that Leviathan is so fucking massive, anything classified as that, I expect to be that big.
Who knows? Maybe we'll get that in the next one.
No.
I kind of hope so. I was hoping for more of that.
Please no. I want them to bring back at least. You know what they could actually do is you remember the Bone Leviathan?
Oh yeah. The dead ones.
Yeah, you could probably see one of those encased in ice at the very least. I hope that is what's floating around in the dead zone, but
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that too. All right, so King of Bows asks, so how would you make a horror game, you guys?
very similar to Resident Evil 7 without the mold. Maybe not first person. I don't know. I feel like first person makes it very personal because then everything's up in your face. But definitely a similar style. Just I don't know. I thought about this for a very long time actually. I wanted to make a game and I had this concept for one that I just never I'm not going to be able to make it, but it's going to be stuck in my head forever. Where you are stuck in the woods with creatures. I have not decided. Just I never went further than the basic premise of it, just because I'm never going to be able to make it, but it's going to be nice to just think about occasionally. But you're stuck in the woods. God fucking gnats. Yeah, Resident Evil 7 got the bugs right. But you are stuck in the woods in somewhere, and you're trying to get back to a city for whatever reason. But when you're in the woods, it's It's not like
You're
you have
beeping again.
invisible. God damn it! I was gonna say it's not like you have invisible walls or anything. You can fully explore this forest. Like anywhere you feel like going, you can go, and there's like no real way to get away from these. Well, at least you can't like full on run from these creatures. Like you can climb trees, hope to get away from them, but your whole thing is to like make it through the forest without dying. But it's a hard thing because I was thinking about making it like a Resident Evil 1 style thing,
Mm-hmm.
somewhat mixed with Resident Evil 4 or Alan Wake or whatever, just more interactive. Because I like the puzzle solving. I love the puzzle solving in the Resident Evil series where things aren't as they seem. Like you would find a cabin in the woods, you'd go inside, you wouldn't find anybody there, but then you'd find something that you're just like, wait, what the fuck is this? Oh, hey, experimentations on what? Oh, hey, I found this button. Oh, there's a lab. Not exactly like that. That'd be fucking stupid,
Yeah,
but
I know what you
just
mean though.
in that way. I just like I like those sort of things, but I want it to be more interactive where it's not like you're set on this path. You can go wherever you want. You can experience things how you want, but there are consequences to doing certain things, such as possibly being attacked by mountain lions.
Mm-hmm.
And it wouldn't be like your guy's just a complete no nuts dumb motherfucker who happened to get lost in the woods. You would be able to fight because, nobody who doesn't know how to fight is going to survive in this sort of environment. But it's not like you're going to be Mr. Billy Badass. Here, let me punch a pit of lava guy.
Right. If
I
I were
don't know.
to if I were to try my hand at a horror game, uh, on the fly, it's kind of hard to talk about stuff like mechanics and camera angles and
Right.
lighting and whatnot.
Yeah, that's where
Um,
I'm stuck at.
I kind of like, as far as sounds go, I kind of like what Silent Hill does with their stuff, with the ambiance and everything. But it's hard to get into specifics without actually, designing a game. But as far as concepts to use, I've always been like the things that usually, as far as horror goes, hit me more are things more in the cosmic horror and body horror realm. So pretty much like I've had a problem for a lot of years where every dream is like it's a nightmare almost every single night. Not it doesn't like stress me out or anything. It's just kind of like it's something you get used to. You're like, oh wow, that was fucking terrifying. All right, going back to bed now. It's like, wow, that was terrifying. I could use a nap. Um, but
I do that.
yeah, but just stuff like one example that comes to mind was this weird nightmare I had. It like I would have like some kind of I don't know if it would be an alien or another worldly entity or something, but it does experiments where there was one in particular I had in a dream that was fucked up. I talked about it on one of the discords. It would take a person and it would pretty much either take out their brain or their or just somehow extract their consciousness itself or whatever so they can see whether they put it in like a jar or like a robotic head or robotic body or whatever so they can watch what the entity is doing to their body. And what they would do with their body is just vivisect it, just cut it open, distort it, just ruin it right in front of them. They'd be forced to watch it and they can't do anything. And it's not with malice or anything. It's completely just unattached, just doing it. No emotion, nothing. At least none that the person could perceive. Just stuff like that. That's the kind of stuff that usually hits the fear center of their brain for me. Um, shit like that would be cool to explore as far as horror games go.
I wonder what he's actually thinking as he cuts me open. Are gems truly outrageous?
Is gem truly outrageous? Oh God, that
Just the thought of that.
it's just no,
Oh,
no. It's not even. It's not even. They're thinking about that. It's just the gem theme song playing in their head.
Truly.
You just peer into their head. Captain Planet, he's a hero. He's gonna
Okay, to
bring
be fair, I
pollution
probably
down to zero.
To be fair, I sing that occasionally.
Oh yeah,
so
I do
don't-
too. That song's
don't
really
doubt it.
catchy.
I don't doubt it. So
Oh my God. Oh, a question we got earlier. Do you guys like? You guys like Ben Shapiro? I think this is a trolley question. I haven't seen a lot of him to be fair, but the little I have seen, he seems pretty smarmy, and I just don't like him.
who's Ben Sharpie?
Ben Shapiro. He's like he's kind of like Caden Cowger or something. He's just like, oh, here's a young person that's a conservative. Let's post him all over Facebook for the boomers to enjoy. But typically it's just bashing whatever popular thing is on the left wing of politics.
Gotcha.
Usually
Things I don't follow.
usually shit talking people like, Bernie Sanders or whatever, and calling everything socialism. Everything's Venezuela. Everything's Venezuela. Just that kind of shit. From the little I've seen of him anyway. He might actually make good points on certain things, but like I said, I've only seen a little, and the little I've seen I don't like.
Right.
But again, it's limited. I haven't seen a shit ton. Maybe it's that stuff I like. I mean, I'm able to watch and enjoy people that I disagree with. Like one of my favorite cartoon channels to watch is Freedom Tunes, and that guy's very much a libertarian. And I am to an extent, but not to the same that he is, and I disagree with a bunch of stuff that comes up in his cartoons, but cartoons are fucking funny. I just can't stop watching them. You know what I mean? You can still enjoy and listen to people you disagree with.
Right. I mean,
It really comes more down to attitude. Like, if I didn't find Shapiro really smarmy, I might actually watch and consider what he says. It's more the attitude he brings to the table.
what
What
about Alex Jones?
Alex Jones is just one of the most entertaining people in general. I
He's
love.
a pioneer.
I'm a pioneer. I'm an explorer, and I'm coming. I love watching Alex Jones so much. Oh my God, that man is a treasure. What do you think makes a good horror monster? I mean, a bunch of things can make a good horror monster. You know what I mean? Like, if you're talking design, I do like a lot of creativity. If you're doing something psychological like Silent Hill, there should be a lot of depth put into the design. You know what I mean? Like how the leg mannequins and the nurse, well, more so the leg mannequins, are symbolic of the main character of James's repressed sexuality and everything. Like that's interesting. And Pyramid Head was his inner want to be punished for the murders he's committed. Though, to be fair, the fat guy in the bowling alley, whose name I can never remember, Eddie, that's what it was, whose name I could remember once, that was more self-defense than anything.
Well, Fat Eddie is just Fat Jason.
Oh my God.
I got the documents right here. There's transmissions in the water. Make it sexual.
These troll comments are getting good. I've been trying to ignore them, but they're really funny now. I watch a lot of Rosa Parks roleplay porn.
You put attention to it.
It's really funny, though.
But yeah, all those characters were just him.
Yeah, there were aspects of his inner turmoil, of his inner character and everything. stuff he didn't particularly
So,
care about himself.
if he killed that, he killed part of himself, but then he punished himself for killing himself. What the fuck is Silent Hill?
Exactly. And it's and it's interesting when there's actually other people in Silent Hill, and
Yeah, that
you
is
talk
weird.
to them and you describe what you've been seeing, and they're looking at you like you're nuts because they're seeing completely different things, whether they're not seeing anything at all or they're seeing completely different monsters than you.
For example, the fire.
Right. The woman he was talking to, can't remember her name for the life of me.
Martha.
Been a long time. But yeah, like she was just like casually walking through fire, and the guy was just like, are you okay? Or doesn't that fucking hurt? And it's just like, I don't know what you're talking about.
To be fair,
it's interesting.
I didn't really like her that much.
I don't remember liking her either. I thought she was just kind of an extra body there, an extra person there, just to kind of give you an idea, to better illustrate what Silent Hill is to you. Because she was just kind of there to demonstrate, like, hey, different people see different things. Obviously, whatever she's seeing is very closely related to the issues that she's been telling you about. Ergo, the things that you're seeing are, it was just kind of helping paint that.
Yeah. I'm just talking like, at this point, it's mostly just her voice acting.
Oh, God, yeah.
Just,
no.
and just the fact that she randomly freaks out, but because they can't show that properly, it's just like, Mommy? Oh
Yeah.
god, get away! And it's like, your facial expression did not change.
The PS2 was a dark time for graphics.
Yeah. And then the GameCube came along and made it better.
GameCube did surprisingly well. PS2 did pretty well too. It just took I don't know, it just varied from company to company. Sometimes you'd get something that looked like Silent Hill 2, sometimes you get something that looked like the cutscenes in Final Fantasy. It's like it clearly wasn't a limitation of the system, it was more just the people making the game.
Yeah.
Let's see, remember when Pyramid Head ripped the skin off that one bitch? Dude, that was cool. That was all right. Like, there's no reason Pyramid Head should have been in that movie, but my God, I was so glad he was because he had the coolest fucking scenes. Oh my God.
I still say the PS2 is probably the best game system of all time.
I'd say it's definitely up there. It's definitely up there.
Just in terms of sheer quality and quantity. I mean, I walked into GameStop one time when the GameCube, that was the generation that was there. The entire fucking wall was PS2 games. There was a time when they made games.
Mm-hmm.
Now it's all about making them AAA and stuff. But it's okay because indie games will be the savior of everybody.
Right.
I stick by this. But going back to King of Bo's comment, do you think a monster is scarier when it is psychological, or the monster otherworldly, or another human who is just religious and are batshit crazy?
All of those things can work equally well. It's really just more how you write it.
Yeah.
It's really more
Okay.
how you write it and how you use it, honestly. Like I said, the cosmic horror and the body horror stuff is more what actually affects me now. So typically when it comes to, what scares me, that's what I'll go to. But as far as like what I find more interesting, I would say the more psychological stuff. I like what Silent Hill does with their monsters.
Joke's on you, guy. I'm circumcised. But
See, Pyramid Head will rip off your skin too, your foreskin. What is it? Does he use like the great knife to perform a bris? Does he have like the little Jewish curls coming down from under the pyramid?
but
That'd be great.
actually Dead Space does all three of those things. maybe not the cosmic horror, but the psychological, the batshit crazy religious people, like that's all there.
Mm-hmm.
They just unfortunately go about it the wrong way.
Yeah.
Just I'll forgive it because it's the first game. Dead Space 2 did so much better. They didn't go scary though.
Okay, so
But they just did. So what?
oh, I was going to say I was gonna bring up a completely different question. I'm sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say that. Yeah, they did the whole batshit crazy people, which is kind of how this thing all came about.
Mm-hmm.
Because they worshipped and revered the marker that makes people go batshit insane, and unfortunately, the lore that they went with in Dead Space 3 that explains this makes it really fucking stupid. But at the time, we don't know what this artifact is. Makes people go batshit insane. They kill each other, then they mutate into horrible creatures, and then yeah. But what they never really played on in any of the games was the fact that you anybody affected by the marker experiences dementia,
Mm-hmm.
and this can be you hear sounds, you see certain things, or what they never did that really disappoints me is they never made it so that any of the necromorphs you were killing were actually people. Because Isaac flips in and out of the state of dementia. He's less affected by the marker than most people. Some people have the ability to either completely ignore the marker signals, be less affected, and then there's the rest of them that just completely go insane in different ways. Like there's some people that just outright kill themselves, go berserk attacking other people, and they showed this in the DLC of Dead Space 3 a little bit,
Yeah.
where the marker makes you go insane. But the fact that they never did this in a main title, and like King of Bo says, Dead Space 3 is non-canon. I don't care. I don't care.
Oh,
They
so
it
Logan,
did bad.
I had a really tough before we'll address King Bo's last question before we end this. But first, I wanted to ask you a much tougher question:
But
PS1 or PS2? If you had
PS2.
to choose, PS2, really?
I love the PS1. It was my first system, but PS2 is just so much fucking better.
I don't know, man. I mean, all right, if you look at the games that
Take
came out on each one, I think the PlayStation
take
1 had much better games and much more impact.
take the nostalgia goggles off.
Spyro 1,
I
2,
know
and
it's
3,
I know it's hard.
Abe's
Believe
Odyssey,
me,
Abe's Exodus.
the only thing that would sell me more on the PlayStation 1 than the games is the startup sound.
Oh, the
Nothing
startup
will
sound.
ever beat that. Nothing will ever have the impact. It's like THX on steroids. It is the best startup sound to any game that has ever happened ever. But taking the nostalgia goggles off and maybe giving me some coffee because holy shit, I'm tired. But taking the goggles off, putting games beside each other, the PS2 is better,
How so?
vastly, because you have the games that started it all. You have Spyro, Ape Escape, Croc, the original Resident Evil, and all these iconic games that started it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're fun. Believe me, I will play Ape Escape until I die, and I will play Spyro until I die. Croc once was a good run.
I go back to Croc every so often.
I'd probably go back to Croc. It's a fun game. And the music for it was good too. But just putting them side by side, just PS2 games were able to take a lot of the technical flaws out of the games because let's be real, PS1 had a lot of technical flaws. They had limitations either due to hardware or software problems, and
I didn't run into that
PS2
much, if at all.
better.
Like,
PS2
I
made
know
a
some
lot of
people had issues with the PS1. Like, I know some people had issues with the PS1. Like, there was kind of became a meme over the years where it was just like the reason the PS1 startup sound is so fucking orgasmic is
wait,
because
Hold on.
It's because the game actually worked.
Where is the...
Oh, yeah, I see it. Damn.
Hold on.
Let's see. The PS2 had Ape Escape 2, God of War 1 and 2, better hardware. I don't care because the games on PS1 ran just fine for me. Had the Devil May Cry series. That's a good point. And more Silent Hill games. That's true. That is true. First game I ever played on PS1 was Frogger. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, I had Frogger 2 as well. Swampy's Revenge. That was a good one.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Here, I got it.
Later, guy. You're not friendly. Bye.
Oh, there you go. Nice.
Yeah, Twitch is weird.
Yeah, sorry about that. I honestly wasn't going to ban him because a bunch of his comments were really funny, but at that point where it's just spamming words, fuck him.
Yeah.
To be fair, I don't mind swearing in the chat and everything. I really don't care about that stuff. It's more spam that I don't like.
I mean, we're swearing all the time, but it's just like at that point,
whatever.
I don't care. Insult me. It's the whole rubber glue thing. I don't fucking care.
Yeah, whatever.
I just don't pay attention to it. Fuck, we insult each other all the time, jackass.
See, yes,
But-
Swampy's Revenge. That's what it was. That was a good
Yeah.
game. I like that one a lot.
I like Swampy's Revenge. Never finished it. I was too young.
It's a really short game. Unless you want to unlock everything. Then it's a very frustrating game.
Yeah, that's...
Which I did, mind you. I was able to play as Swampy.
Oh, you can do that? That's
Yeah,
cool.
he's one of the unlockable characters.
Yeah.
The narrative becomes very different when you play as Swampy. Then it's you kidnapping the frogs. Like, I got halfway through the game playing as Swampy. I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I don't feel so good about this anymore.
Mr. Swampy, I don't feel so good.
Let's see. Plus, you can play PS1 games on the PS2. That's something I miss. I wish...
Yeah, backwards compatibility. I don't know what the issue with that was.
Greed. That's literally it. They can make all the new systems backwards compatible easily, but they don't. Because then they're like, oh, but we can sell you this monthly subscription to this, which allows you to buy these games again. We know you already have them and have the disc and everything that you can just put in the console. That could totally handle it, but we'd rather you buy it. Oh, but then the new system comes out, so you have to buy them again because it won't transfer? Yeah, isn't that fun? What a great idea.
Hail the majesty of Steam.
Yeah, that's why Steam's gonna fucking, steamroll them.
Steamroll.
I just thought about yeah, steamroll them. Isn't Swampy's Revenge the one game with that damn croc? Yeah. Yeah, it's the one with the
Swampy.
yeah, it's the alligator. Swampy.
Swampy.
With all those terrifying FMV cutscenes.
Swampy nuts.
Ugh. God, I love the haunted house level. That was such a good one. Okay, and for that last question, let me see. All right, is a monster scarier when it is intelligent enough to the point where it starts talking to you, or is it scarier when the monster never talks to you at all?
That depends on how it's done.
Depends on how it's... Yeah.
Jack talks to you, and no thank you. Although I will say, during the boss fight, I wasn't afraid at all. I was more so delighted by the fact that this big ass goopy monster man was going, "Oh, I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you." That was just delightful.
I don't know. I think as far as being intelligent, I guess it depends on what kind of horror game you're going for. If you're going for like something hunting you, then I would say intelligent but doesn't talk, and maybe make it a little vague how intelligent it actually is. You know what I mean? Because if you know it's an apex predator that can, like, if you know it's the predator, for example, you know exactly what you're dealing with. You know the level of intelligence it has, and you know how much to prepare. But if it's more vague, during your playthrough, there's a little more anxiety involved because every once in a while, it'll surprise you with some shit. You're like, oh, it figured out what I was trying to do there. I didn't know it could do that. I was not prepared. You know what I mean? You should keep it
Yeah.
vague. But yeah, I
I
do
think
prefer the intelligence when it's hunting. When it's something like Subnautica, just make it like basic animal predator intelligence. Like
like the stalkers or whatever.
yeah, like the stalkers, or maybe at most the velociraptors from Jurassic Park, where they are very intelligent for non-human animals. They have the problem-solving skills and everything to open doors and short out and test out electric fences and everything to find its weakness. And they know how to coordinate and shit, but not quite to the point where it's like speaking multiple languages and that kind of bullshit.
I don't know. I'm pretty sure they're going oh in French.
Or making that lovely sound that the armored banana boy makes in Spyro 1. You just charge him, it's like
That's my favorite one.
that better be in the fucking remake.
If it's not, I am refunding my own money.
Mm-hmm.
You had one job. I don't care that the rest of the game didn't sound as it used to. You took out my banana boy.
I will say that there is hope for that because they showed a teaser of Crush's
Being
dungeon,
Eh.
and the attacks had the same sound effects. Like they sound cleaner, but it's the same sound effect.
Yes.
So there's hope. There's hope, and he does look like a lot more threatening. Still,
Yeah,
dumb, but more threatening.
Yeah, I wouldn't have imagined anything less.
Yeah.
Because it's hard. I mean, after seeing what they did with the beasts in Beast Makers, I imagine that those bosses like Spike, Crush, they look a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alora's cute.
Allura is cute. I do like the route they went with her design.
Yeah.
Bianca looks pretty good too, actually.
Yeah, she does. I did
Yeah.
see the new one.
Yeah, it's about right.
They're adorable.
That's one they didn't really have to change that much, honestly. So, like, I was mildly disappointed when I saw it, but I'm like, well, that's pretty much just an adaptation. Like, yeah, that's what she looks like.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. I just got so used to them, drastically changing characters that when I saw Bianca look like Bianca, I'm like, oh, all right, I'll take it. Just kind of taken aback for a second.
Oh god, Spyro looks doofy. Alora looks like a furry. Bianca! That didn't change.
Yeah. She was Lola Bunny before Lola Bunny was Lola Bunny.
No.
She was.
unless Spyro 3 came out before Space Jam.
I'm pretty sure it did, didn't it?
I don't know. You know what? We could find out though.
Okay, you look up Spyro 3.
Spyro 3. The year the dragon came out in 2000.
Damn! Space Jam was 1996.
Hell yeah! Lola Bunny was Lola Bunny before Bianca was Lola Bunny. Before Lola Bunny, I'm tired.
Yes. I agree. But yeah, like
I was gonna cough.
Like the second the cloak came off, you're just like, yep. That's the route we're going. Oh man, what a weird way to end this.
God, that face is so doofy. Oh, the face is so weird.
Okay, so I think we covered a lot of different stuff. It was more of a free-form discussion tonight. Usually we have this shit more planned out. Our next episode of V.A.S.T, I'm not sure when we're going to do it because there is going to be some prep involved. We're going to try to do top 10 animated villains.
Yeah, it's going to be hard.
This could be interesting. I've got my list. I just need to figure out where to put them on it. You know what I mean? Then I got to set up like the visuals and stuff like I did for the last one when we did Aliens.
Have nothing.
Yeah, it's a hard list to make. It really, really is.
It's a hard list, and I just don't have the time. Like,
Oh.
I have a lot of animation to go through,
Hmm.
and I don't know. I don't. I know what I want to put on there, but I also don't. And I know there's a lot of shit I'm probably skipping over that I'm just like, oh yeah, I need you. But where do I put you on the list?
Yeah, that's the feeling I had making mine.
Why am I dying? Oh god, I'm infected.
Biogenetics. It still comes to mind every fucking time someone says infected. I'm back from rearranging of computer. Well, unfortunately, we are ending the show now. We're 3.5 hours in. Oh
It didn't
fuck.
feel like 3.5 hours.
Yeah, it was 3.5 hours. All right, so that's gonna do it for this episode of V.A.S.T. Hope you guys enjoyed the freeform discussion. For anyone that missed it, like Chris there,
Sorry,
it will be
Chris.
on YouTube soon. If you guys want more content, I know my streams are a lot fewer and a lot farther between, just because of my new job. I will be having Let's Play content back on the YouTube channel. Again, the YouTube channel for any new people is the same name as the channel here. It's channel JAL. Just look it up. I will be doing playthroughs of The Legend of Spyro: A New Beginning, and I think I might be doing the new Spider-Man.
Do it!
David's been wanting me to do more episodes per session, so that might be my way of filling the time there. So yeah, it'll be fun. I don't know if I'll have to do. Okay, so Logan, before we go, personal question, or not personal question, but just whatever.
8 inches.
uh, okay, so for Spider-Man, how long should the episodes be? Do you think?
Jack, the one I watched, did
Hour.
like hour and a half, 2 hours, some of them. That depends. Are you doing side stuff? I recommend because you get you do level up in the game, and there are unlockable costumes that you can get for doing bonus missions. So I do recommend doing them, possibly on your free time if you have it. But if you have to do it during the episodes, like 45 minutes, maybe half hour.
Yeah, I'll have to talk with David. Have to see how that's gonna work out, editing wise. But
Yeah,
yeah,
because
maybe we'll do like less edit heavy for that. Anyway,
if
that's
you're doing
just
like story stuff, like just pure story stuff, then
probably.
with occasional stuff happening, the Spider-Man 2 thing where crime breaks out wherever. But if you're just doing story stuff, then you could do half-hour episodes.
Half hour, that seems reasonable. Anyway,
Yeah.
so that was our show for tonight. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you, Logan, for carrying most of that. I
I
know
try.
this episode was more your baby.
I just think it's a valid topic. Like, what makes it good and what do games do wrong? Like,
Well, Five Nights at
yeah.
Freddy's exists. That's one thing they did wrong.
Fucked up thing is I still have so much to talk about too.
We'll get that
There's
stuff in somewhere.
so much to talk about. But hopefully we can discuss this in, if we can ever make it happen, a Resident Evil 4 review.
Ooh, I'd
Don't
have fun with
know.
that. I like that game.
I just got it for Steam, so
Hmm.
maybe we can make something happen.
Maybe,
But
maybe we can set up days for you to play it and me to watch.
yeah, we'll just take notes, make recordings.
Make fun of Salad
Any
Bar.
Anybody still listening, let us know what you think about that idea. And if we ever get some free time, by we I mean me, we can make it happen.
Yeah.
We
All
can
right.
do the thing.
So again, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We're gonna go ahead and call it an episode. Have a good night, everybody.
See ya. Bunch of dildos.